this week. I didn't even realize that. We have football this week, and it's on Thursday. Today's the last day of July, and it's remarkable. We've got the Hall of Fame game on Thursday, and live from Canton, what is it? Bears and Texans? That's amazing. It's absolutely amazing that we have football already, and the Hall of Fame ceremony will be on Saturday. Appreciate you guys coming aboard. By the way, you were sensational yesterday. And we can't thank you enough for all the likes that you brought to the program, all the viewership that you brought to the program. We thank you for picking us each and every single day here, Monday through Friday. You guys have kept it rolling through the offseason, and now we're ramping up going into the exhibition season. And we are, 37 some days away from September 6th and the start of the National Football League year for the Eagles when they play the Packers. I mean, it's incredible. We're right here, man, and everybody is amped up. And it reminds me a lot of Major League Baseball, where optimism is everywhere. But as always, we have to start the show off with Big Sills. And I can't tell you how much I'm looking forward to this week. I had a lot to do. Or I had a small part in some of the Hall of Fame induction guys that are going into the Pro Football Hall of Fame on Saturday. You know that I'm on a bunch of panels with Jason Cole, with Rick Gosselin, with Jarrett Bell, a bunch of the voters, and they give me a list of people to put some intel together. And I put intel together for certain guys who I think are worthy of going in to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And yes, I did put Eric Allen. And I did do a bio on Eric Allen. I'll do another one next year on Eric Allen. I believe he is worthy, obviously, of being a Pro Football Hall of Famer. Now, look, I'll tell you, there's a guy going in this year that should have been a Hall of Famer 20 years ago. His name is Randy Gradishaw. And it just takes time, and sometimes guys slip through the cracks. And that's kind of, I think, what's happened a little bit here with Eric Allen. So we'll keep pushing away with him. But on Saturday, Dwight Freeney. I know Dwight very well. He broke some of my sack records in Connecticut, and he's arguably one of the greatest players to play high school football in Connecticut. Steve Young, Dwight Freeney. There's been a couple Hall of Famers. Robustelli is a Connecticut guy, obviously. So there's a bunch of people that have come out of the state. Freeney's clearly one of the greatest players to ever play. Was a great player with the Indianapolis Colts, undersized Syracuse player. He was sensational. I'm looking forward to him going into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And as I mentioned, Randy Gradishaw. I thought Randy Gradishaw was in the Pro Football Hall of Fame 5 years ago. When they first started bringing information to me about Randy Gradishaw, the former Bronco linebacker, I thought he was already in. He was a fabulous football player with the Orange Crush. Back in the day, he played with Alzado. What a great football player, former Ohio State Buckeye. He was sensational on them Denver Bronco teams. You got to remember, too, you're in the era of the Steelers back then. Steelers and Raiders were the dominant teams in the AFC, and the Dolphins were the dominant teams back in Gradishaw's day. He was a heck of a football player in the AFC. Of course, I'm partial to Andre Johnson. Had something to do, small bit to do with recruiting. We all have a little bit to do with recruiting. If you're a former Cane, you love seeing the fact that a former Cane's going into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Where would I place him in wide receiver history at the University of Miami, Andre Johnson? Is he better than Michael Irvin? No. Is he better than Reggie Wayne? Yes. Wayne's more accomplished. But Andre Johnson, I can't name you a quarterback in Houston that he played with. I can't name you one that was worthy of anything that you would put up as even being decent. He never played with a decent quarterback. Okay? I mean, never played with a decent quarterback when he was with the Houston Texans. Just a fabulous football player, great talent, kind of in the same athleticism as maybe a Calvin Johnson, not to that point. But Andre Johnson was a great football player, arguably on one of the greatest college football teams of all time, too. Andre Johnson and Irvin Fryer deserve higher rating in their quarterback play for their quarterback play over their careers. They played with garbage. Scott, that's a great take on Irving Fryer. You could even make the comment, Mike Quick also deserves some conversation potentially on being a Hall of Famer. I mean, look, Art Monk, Mike Quick. I always thought those two were synonymous with one another. You know what I'm saying? I thought those two guys were synonymous. Yeah, Andre Johnson was underrated. Devin Hester, another University of – we got two University of Miami guys going into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, which is sensational. Very proud of the legacy at the university. You know, funny thing about Devin Hester never had a position in the league except special teams. Think about that. Wasn't a cornerback, wasn't a safety, wasn't a wide receiver, wasn't a running back. He made it on special teams. Part of the game where people don't look at any longer as a major factor in the game, especially on punt and kickoff return. He was the greatest of all time, obviously, going in as a punt returner and kick returner. Maybe Steve Tasker now, White Shoes Johnson, people like that will get some serious consideration. But great to see Devin Hester. Very proud that he's a Hurricane. And then Patrick Willis, I'm kind of shocked here. I never thought he was really a Hall of Fame linebacker. But if you go back and you look at his numbers in the Pro Bowls that he made, you know, he flew under the radar a little bit. The teams he played on were decent. They weren't spectacular. But Patrick Willis, if you look at his numbers and you look at his career, and like I said, you look at the Pro Bowls, he's a pretty good football player. So the list, Dwight Freeney, Randy Gradishaw, Andre Johnson, Julius Peppers, Devin Hester, and Patrick Willis will be inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame on Saturday, which is great. Walk through today for the Eagles. I think they've had a really great week. And then yesterday, the first day of contact, I thought we saw some pretty good stuff. And I thought we also heard some pretty good stuff. Patrick Willis was an amazing linebacker. He's a pretty good player, man. I mean, you know what's funny? When you're in an era of that, you don't really know the guy's name that well because he's on the left coast. You know, you really have to start doing more research on him. And then you look up and you go, holy shit, the guy had a great career. He really did. He had a really great career. What we're going to do, by the way, Mark Holmes will join us. We're waiting to see if Philly 500 is going to join us also at 3:30. We're going to get Xander on with us at 4:30. Had a great conversation with John McMullen. Birds 365 co-host. We'll do that at 4:30. We're going to do this here. My Eagle evaluations after the first week and some of the players that have stuck out to me. Then we're going to go around the NFC and some camp news on what's going on around the NFC East. So we'll look in, we'll have a comment on some of the things that are going on at Commanders camp, Giants camp, and also Dallas Cowboys camp. So we will do all that, and let's get started here. So again, we'll do the NFC East after we do the Eagle evaluations here. Want to make sure I got all of it. Yeah, here we go. All right. I think it's been a great camp. Now, it's July 31st. How much can you take into it? Well, if you're doing and practicing the right things, okay, and you've got effort, conditioning, and you're putting 2023 behind you, I think it's a good thing. I think there is more of an emphasis. And by the way, I think the thing that has given the injection to the Eagles camp has been the new coordinators. I think the new coordinators have brought a sense of urgency back to the Eagles that they hadn't had last year. Remember something about Brian Johnson and Sean Desai. When you got young coordinators like that, they're feeling their way too. When you got experienced coordinators, they're installing things. They've already got a conviction on what they want to try to accomplish. Think about it. When you come out of school or when you come out of college or what have you, and you go into a new job and you're brand new at it, you're looking just getting acclimated. When you're a coordinator or when you're an experienced guy moving into a new job, you know what you're going to do. You got a set way, and they hired you because of that skill set you have. What happens a lot of times, managers hire people, try to change that skill set, and that's why you have a disconnection. But when you hire a guy to do a job, and that guy knows what he's doing, that's why you have a seamless transition. I think you're seeing a little bit of that now. Have you seen Guyton doing work against Parsons? We're going to talk about that. I'll say this to you, 304. He's got to be an opening day starter. He's a first-round draft choice. He's got to be a first-round starter. And he has to be in the starting lineup the opening day. Okay? He has to be. And they are doing that. They're kind of doing the same thing they're doing to Quinyon Mitchell by using A.J. Brown in the Philly camp. Still, should Torrey Holt be in the Hall of Fame? I think he's right there. I think he's a consideration for it. Absolutely. Joseph, happy birthday to you, man. Appreciate you choosing us to come here and celebrate your birthday. Thank you. The Eagle offense will carry the defense this year. They've been working on Jalen's deficiencies. They've been working on red zone, short passes, and a lot these last week of practices. Yeah, I think you also have to have time of possession too, Akbar, and being able to run the football. And to me, that's one of the things that I think they're going to try to do. And we're going to get to all of that here in a second. Sills, young coordinators need either patience from the front office, which will allow them to develop, or an experienced head coach will help them through the transition. Johnson and Desai had neither. You got to remember something too, Bob. The toughest transition for a coach to make is from coordinator to head coach. Remember this, Nick Sirianni is still going through that transition as head coach. And now they've redefined his role. You know, Bill Parcells said it very candidly his first year when they had a losing record after he took over for Ray Perkins. I think the Giants won 6 games. And he told Phil Simms, if we get through this, Simms, we're going to win a lot of games. He was acting like a coordinator because that transition is also a transition. When you go from being a guy who is responsible for one side of the ball or a group, and then you go to running the whole thing, that's a whole different thing when you're wearing the main headset versus wearing a wide receiver headset or wearing an offensive coordinator's headset. It's a whole different transition. Sills, you still going to Cowboys camp with Mark? That's the plan. You guys might be the only ones there. Did you see the photo? None of the Cowboy fans are showing up. I saw that. And actually, that's one of the first times I've ever seen that. Even when we were at Valley Ranch, and then when we went over to Thousand Oaks, and we were up at Cal Lutheran, we had a ton of people always in the stands watching Cowboy games. Not seeing that right now, and I think a lot of people are not high on the Cowboys. We're going to go into all of this here. Big Sills is coming out swinging with positivity. Are you feeling okay, big guy? I don't know how you not go with positivity right now on July 31st. What is there to be negative about? This is about the 2024 season. Do I still have question marks? Yes. Do I still? You know my issues. You know my issues. Do I have to reiterate them every day to you? I mean, you know my issues. Inexperience. Somebody asked me the other day, Seals, you think the Eagles, with all the optimism you have, are a Super Bowl team? No, I don't. I got to see them play first. I got to see them play. You could have all the talent in the world. Hey, how'd you guys feel back in the day when you guys put that dream team together in the preseason and exhibition season when they had that dream team with all them players? How'd you feel about that team? Pretty good? All them stars were on that team? Amdi Nasamwa, Vince Young, had a bunch of guys, right? Great players. Turned out to be a shit show, right? Turned out to be a shit show. So at the end of the day here, just because you accumulate all the great players that you have on your football team, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to equate into being a successful season. M. Johnson says, hated it. All overrated. Nnamdi Asomugha was a terrible selection, and I thought he was really a great player with the Raiders. I thought he was a great player with the Raiders. He got to Philly. It was awful. That's how we lost Andy. Probably so, Karma. Probably so. Dan Sileo, I personally got an autographed jersey at camp from Nolan Smith, and it looked like he gained 10 pounds. Good. Fantastic. Okay? Fantastic. That's good to hear, man. He needs to put the weight on. Seals, there's a rumor floating around. The Eagles are interested in Zadarius Smith. I think the Eagles, knowing Howie Roseman and the way he operates, Kyle, would you not think he's interested in everybody? You know, Howie may have an interest in everybody, but do those guys fit? And I hear people doing this about Justin Simmons. That guy's not the end all. Well, then what you're looking at right now is you're going to take some weeks then with your young football players. And I got some comments to be made about how your football team has performed so far, especially on the defensive side of the game. Talking to people that are out there, talking to some of the coaches. You guys have to understand how close I am with Clint Hurt. He asked me to wear 93 at the University of Miami. And I said it was cool. All these guys do that. People want to wear 52. They call Ray Lewis. You want to wear 98? You call Jerome's family. The heritage at that place still exists. It's one of the really cool things. And I love Clint. I helped recruit the kid to go to Miami. Big fans of his. By the way, I don't think Clint Hurt will be your defensive line coach next year, especially if they have any kind of success this year. He'll be a DC somewhere because he's too good a mind and he's too good a coach just to be a defensive line coach. I think it's an absolute luxury having two coordinators in the building like this right now. Remember, he was a defensive coordinator in Seattle with Pete Carroll. You know what that guy's learned up in Seattle with Pete Carroll? I think Carroll's one of the best defensive minds in the league. Yeah, Eduardo. So having him as your D-line coach, it's just, I mean, it's awesome having him in the building. All right. Here are my player evaluations so far, first week. Jalen Hurts. Let's start there, most important position. Last 2 days, I think it's been a product a little bit of the offensive line in and out because of the O-line being nicked up. I think he's had a really good camp. I think when he was in helmets and shorts, looked a bit more fluid. We put the pads on yesterday, not so much, but that's all right. When the bullets get real, things get a little more tighter. Windows get tighter. You're able to cover closer. I'm not saying he's had a bad camp whatsoever. Not at all. He looks like he's picking up the progression reading. They're doing things in motion. He's also got to worry about pass protection, setting the line protection. He's working with Cam Jerkins. He's got a lot on his plate. So I think he's done a nice job, man. This is more responsibility for Jalen Hurts than he's ever had as a Philadelphia Eagle. This may be the most responsibility he's ever had in his entire time as a quarterback from Alabama to Oklahoma to Philadelphia. He may be asked to do more things. He may be asked to do more things this year than any other time that he's been a quarterback. And we'll see how that translates out. Again, we've got to get him in a game. But it seems to be a positive right now that he's absorbing it and he's taking and processing the information, which is good. Okay? Bruce says that McMullen hates talking about motion. Well, I don't. I think it's quintessential to your offense. And we're going to make a comment here about motion and what's going on. Let me get to it. Let's go to Barkley. No question. No question. They want him on the field. Read option has been essential in practicing so far. They want him involved in the passing game. Here's a running back that's a 3-down back. You know why he's a 3-down back? This guy's a 3-down back because you don't have to worry about this guy being a guy like Rashad Penny who can't block. Oh, by the way, all of you who wanted Rashad Penny, and I told you he's a bum last year, he just retired at 28. He was an out-and-out bust in Seattle. You kept fighting me on that. He stunk, and I loved the kid. I covered him at San Diego State. But he was a bum. Chris Carson beat him out up there, and he was a 5th rounder. He's a bum. Rashad Penny's going to eat. I'm like, that guy can't. Hey, I'll say one thing last about Penny. He's a talented kid. He's just another guy that can't stay healthy. When he's in a game, I saw a guy make a prediction this year. I think it was somebody at Sports Illustrated. Said that Rashad Penny will lead the NFL in rushing. That's how much talent he has. So it's easy to make that proclamation. What a shame. There's a kid who has the talent to lead the NFL in rushing. Just can't stay on the field. Just can't stay on the field. What a shame. And by the way, that'll last with him for the rest of his life. Just terrible. Barkley's a 3-down back. Pass protection, catching, screens, running in between the tackles. He's elusive. Question will be health, obviously, with him. Will be whether or not he can stay on the football field. Please hit the like button, guys. The O-line. Let's do this as a collective group. These are my takeaways so far in the first week with 1 day of hitting. Today is a walkthrough. Dickerson, Lane, and Steen all nicked up. Steen obviously out. Lane nicked up a little bit. Are you starting to see the time of Father Time? A little bit with Lane? Landon's been nicked up a little bit. Something to keep an eye on. They went out yesterday. They made a move in the O-line. You know what that tells you? They're concerned. They're concerned about the depth. I mean, you got nicked up, and there's only been one practice in pads, and you already got a guard out. Landon Dickerson's banged up, and Lane's missed a little bit of time. By the way, I'm not talking about whether Lane's going to play this year or Landon. I'm talking about a collective group. The entire group in the room. That's something to keep an eye on. Do you have ample backups that can go in there and you're not going to have that cliff dive if somebody misses significant time? Landon Dickerson misses time. And guess what you have going on right now? So you got Landon Dickerson and you got Tyler Steen that are missing a tad bit of time. And when you start doing your installments this week, who's he lined up next to? First-year center and Cam Jurgens. You don't have experience on each side of the – well, you got Micaiah Becton on the right side, but he's not comfortable at that position yet. So you got some issues in there, especially with a team that struggled a little bit with picking up blitzing. Pass protection where the quarterback got hit, third highest total in the league. You might want to keep an eye on that. Again, it's early. Nothing to get crazy about, but keep an eye on that. And remember something right now on July 31st. You're not going to find all-pro offensive linemen out there. These guys don't grow on trees. You're going to be taking guys from the bottom of the barrel here. And you're going to have to work some magic here to create some depth. Again, not panicking here on this, but it's something to keep an eye on. Look, if Landon was just the only guy, but then you got Steen missing time. Steen needs all the reps he can get. Am I worried about Lane? Not so much. Now, if it's a toe injury for Lane, those can be lingering all year and turn into turf toe. And if that turns into turf toe, then you can need a splint. Could be a hampering injury the entire season, especially with a guy who's 34 years old. Okay? Once again, not panicking here. Okay? Not overly concerned, but, the Eagles thought enough of it to make a move. Okay? They thought enough of it to make a move where they feel that they don't have the guy in their building right now. The offensive line a year ago, I didn't think was all that hot when it came to pass protection. Just something to keep an eye on. I think Milton Williams has looked pretty decent. You know why I like what Milton Williams is doing? According to Clint and all them, they're moving into a 5-technique, 6-technique, 5-technique, 7-technique, and a 3-technique, and he's done very well at all three positions, which means multiple fronts. So you could put him in a 4-front, 30 front. You could put him in a bear front. and he looks pretty decent out there right now. He's in a contract year. Eagles are going to get the best Milton Williams they possibly can. He could be the most versatile defensive lineman that you have out there, which is a value. Okay? I mean, 3 technique, 1 technique. He could play nose. He benches over 500 pounds. They've even had him in a 7 technique. I mean, wide 7s, and you got a guy like that that can play all those positions. That's a really good luxury to have if you're Vic Fangio. Really great luxury to have. Please hit the like button, guys. I appreciate you guys. Jordan Davis. And again, this is my player evaluation after week 1 and first day in pads. Jordan Davis. You know, it's funny. I saw this last year, and we're seeing it again rear its head. Clint Hurts said this. He goes, this guy's a powerful man. He goes, what do you make of him? And I go, well, he's a powerful man. He is. But how about this? How big is the gas can? He says, that's our issue. How big is the gas can? He's going to get out of the gate. He's going to play great. That Green Bay game, it wouldn't shock me if he's a factor. Okay? It would not shock me. But how big is the gas can? How much fuel would he have at the end of the year? 350 pounds, 6'5.5", can move. He's got great hands. He's powerful. How big is the gas can? That's my problem with Jordan Davis right now. He's got to make that gas can last. You fill it up at the beginning of the year, your body also goes through the war of attrition. And it hasn't done well the last 2 years. This is who Milton Williams is. I told Clint Hurt that. My observations of him, he's a seesaw. He's going to get out of the gate strong, and he's going to fade. The question is, when you get to week 12, what's that guy look like in week 12? Because in week 1 through 6, I think he's going to be really good, especially if they can get off the field. If they can get off the field first and second, third down, and they can get stops immediately, 3 and outs, and they can get a bunch of 3 and outs, that'll help him in the back end of the season. What you can't have is long sustained drives from opposing teams like Green Bay in the opener. You can't have 14-play drives against that Eagle defense early because you're going to wear Jordan Davis out. Okay? How big is the gas can? Okay? How big is the gas can? What week, Sills? Well, this is a week today. Or actually, it's a week today that they started practice. They started last Tuesday. Sills, what do you think about giving him a few games off throughout the season to get the camp filled back up? Maybe not taking games off, Tyson, but putting different fronts in there. Okay? Different fronts. You could possibly do that. Hide it. But listen, I want him on the field, dude. He's the 13th pick. Okay? He's the 13th pick. All right? So let's move on. Josh Sweat. He's probably your best 3-down lineman. I told Clint that. He's your best 3-down lineman. I think he got over the rails last year when it came to all the plays that he played. Almost played 900 snaps. Can't have that. Nobody on the planet is going to be successful with 900 snaps. You had no backup for him. You had no help for him. Nobody was on the other side helping him. Brandon Graham completely fell off the cliff. You were dropping in coverage Hassan Reddick. You weren't helping him. What's the one thing Sweat had on the other end the year that he had a really great year where he had double-digit sacks? Brandon Graham had 11, and he had Hardgrave in the middle with 11. You had 22 sacks a year ago, and those things almost all went away. And he was out there on an island himself. He's a good football player, man. Again, he's a good football player. I don't know why Philadelphia Eagle fans and certain people in the media are down on him. He's the only thing you had that was worth the shit last year outside of Jalen Carter. Well, he didn't show up. Dude, he didn't show up because no one helped him. He was the only guy out there on your defensive line. And Jalen Carter started shitting the bed against the run, albeit Matt Patricia didn't help. Okay? Bradbury had actually 1,051 snaps. That's right, Chips. Chip says it perfectly here about Sweat. You're dead right. Sweat played 2 seasons in 1. You want to hear something remarkable? Josh Sweat played more snaps than what Bryce Huff did double last year. And you think Bryce Huff is going to play 900, 800 snaps this year? Well, you're going to get the same Josh Sweat reaction. If you've never played that, I don't know how you think that guy's going to be able to play 850 snaps. You're out of your minds. Speaking of Bryce Huff, I've not heard this guy's name all week. Where is he? No flash plays. Look, it's July 31st. Don't get crazy here, but this guy's nowhere to be seen. I've not heard his name once. Have you? Even in the reports. Nothing. I mean, nothing. Zero. Where is he? This is your star acquisition in pass rush. I mean, Reddick, people would say this in a camp about Reddick. Guy gets around the horn, dude. That guy gets around the horn. He got a motor. I haven't heard the coach. And the only thing that I've heard about Bryce Huff, you know what it's been? I've heard Vic Fangio talking shit on him. That's all I've heard. Guy's not ready to play to run. Okay? Not ready to play to run right now. Okay? I've not heard anything from the guy. Again, it's July 31st. I hear another week of this, I'm going to have issues. This is your boy. Why is Howie hiding his $18 million man? I don't know. But again, it's week 1. It's July 31st. Let's not get ahead of ourselves here. Okay? But, damn. $17.5 million? I might want to see something. He's battling Lane. Lane's been out a few times. Lane's been battling injuries. I'm awake, or you? I'm not the only one saying that. Hey, I'm sure your boy's okay. But I told you from day one, not me. I don't think he's who you think he is. I think he's a situational pass rusher. You know who he is? He's Mariano Rivera. Going to come in and close games for you. He ain't going to start any games. No middle relief. He ain't any of that. This guy here is either going to get home or he's useless. That's what he is and what he's been his entire career. But that's an opinion. We'll see. Quinyon Mitchell, talent, works hard, has the right attitude, has the right demeanor, his ability, you see it. Let me tell you something about a guy like Quinyon Mitchell. You know what that is? There's certain guys when you draft in the first round or second or third round, and they get out there on the field and you go like this, no way. Man, sometimes veteran guys can take 20 plays and go like this. That ain't it. And you know it. That ain't it. But you know what you're hearing? Step for step. Needs a little work on technique. That's okay. That's just experience. The way you're going to get that is going against Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. Fuck. You can't put a premium on that. How important that is to be able to have players lining up against quality guys like that on a day-to-day basis. What do you think made Alabama such a great football program? You're going against the best players in the country. Same thing at Georgia. You're playing against the best people in the United States of America every day. That's why you draft those players. They're not just playing on Saturdays against the best players. They're playing every day, Monday through Friday, against the best players. They're practicing in skill set drills, 7-on-7s, 9-on-7s. That's why you draft that. And for a kid from Toledo, probably does need a little technique work. That's why Vic's moving him around too. Probably didn't see all the game at Toledo. Probably saw half the field. How many times do you think that guy ever lined up in the middle of the field for the University of Toledo? None. But you put him in the middle of the field, you give him a good bird's eye view of what the defense is trying to do. That is a lesson that a great coordinator is doing to help his young player get acclimated quicker. It's good. It's good. As a matter of fact, I'm more encouraged about him. I'm still a Teron Arnold guy because, again, played against the best receivers in the country every day and in the conference, and he played at Alabama with the best coaching on the planet. And I think he is going to be – I think both those guys are going to be good players. I just didn't know what Quinyon Mitchell's going to look like. But so far, so good. Press conference, too. You know, his attitude is right on the line, too, where he's not getting a little bit above himself. But yet he's got a cocky attitude. I hope that comes out a little bit more next year, or maybe even as we get closer towards the middle of the season. Cornerbacks have to have attitudes. It's the toughest position on the field to play physically. Okay? I mean, I hope he has that attitude. All right? I'm awake. Are you says Q's Q Arnold? I think they're both the same guy, man. I think they're both the same guy. Matt, thank you very much, man. We had 300 likes yesterday. It was great. Reasons why Q will be outstanding. He has Fangio coaching him. He's working against AJ and Smitty, which is true. And he has Slay giving him pointers. All those things, Eduardo, are so true, and you're right. You're so right. Okay? You have to have massive cojones to shut down AJ down and trash talk him. One of the best wide receivers in the game. He's coming for you in practice, not beating you consistently. Agreed, Scott. And by the way, I think it's really great that A.J. Brown allows him to talk shit to him. Because, again, when you have a top-flight wide receiver like that, as a rookie, you're seen and not heard. A.J.'s allowing that personality to come out. That's really something that's not being talked about enough. A.J. Brown has a personality. He's also allowing that guy to do that as a rookie. Rookies don't talk shit in camp. That's not what you're supposed to do. But Brown is bringing that personality out too. Look at this kid talking shit. Trash route, all that, great. That's a mentor. Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant used to talk shit to one another. But Kobe Bryant had a great respect for Michael Jordan. But there was always that line you knew, hey, you know, this guy's here helping me become the player I want to be. So, I mean, got to give AJ love here on that. You got to give him some love. Big Sales, come outside, like, take your butt to the link and do a show in the parking lot, tailgate podcast. Don't be scared. Don't worry, Mr. Big Sales. Really? As long as you bring the grub, we're ready. As long as you bring the grub, hit the like button. Thank you, guys. That's what's happened last year, Sills. DBs practiced against AJ and Smith and got roasted. So they started playing 15 yards off the ball to make up for it. You didn't have the talent you had a year ago. He was going to be spectacular. Here is a problem that I had, and I asked Clint Hurt this. They're not making any plays in the passing game. It's been a week. They're not making any plays. They're making no plays. Gardner Johnson's nowhere. Okay. They're not making any plays. Are you concerned on July 31st? Nothing. The entire secondary is not making plays. Nobody's making a play. Okay? There's been no picks, very few deflections, nothing. Now, is that a product of how good Devontae and AJ and the motion offense is? Yes. But nothing. I mean, it's been a week. A deflection and a dropped interception by Keely Ringo. July 31st. Man, probably not going to bite the bit on that, but I'd like to see some plays being made. Just no plays. You know, one thing to run with a guy. A.J. Brown would make plays and Devontae Smith would kill that secondary in a game right now. Both guys would have 150 yards receiving. Am I concerned? We could practice, no plays? Okay. I mean, Nolan Smith, again, another guy. Where is he? A couple times he got around the corner. Other than that, both Huff and him have been no-shows. I mean, okay, July 31st. Not overly concerned. One day of hitting. Okay. All right. Got to count on him. This guy's got to be between 8 and 11 sacks this year. I don't know. I mean, maybe Jalen isn't taking the necessary risks in practice. Just saying. The secondary's not making any. They're not making any plays. The corners aren't making a play. Sills, have you ever known a front office year in and year out never to emphasize on linebackers? No, but there's organizations that don't emphasize. Here, how about this, Sam? Under Andy Reid, did you guys ever, outside of 1 year with Owens, ever really put an emphasis on wideouts? Andy's taking that over to Kansas City with him now. So I think it's just situational and positional on certain coaches who don't look at certain positions with a massive need. Andy's never been a big wide receiver guy wherever he's been. I think he believes that hurts the development of his quarterbacks being able to read defenses by having one primary target, because he's carried that over to KC. So there's certain guys that just have different, emphasis. Some guys don't like linebackers. Some guys don't like wide receivers. I think the really great coaches will have an emphasis. You don't have to be great at every level. You just have to be somewhat competent at every level. Okay? What's good, Jace? Appreciate it. Should we expect more or the same from last year with the defense? I think you should expect more. New coordinator? New schemes? Andy loves tight ends. He does, Scott. He does. He loves tight ends. He's had a great one when he was in Philly, and he's got a great one, obviously, now in Kansas City. Seals, I agree on Andy with the wide receivers, but he worked the passing game through the tight end and screens and running backs. How can you replace the linebacker position? I think you have strong safeties and strong safety play and sure tacklers at the safety position, which I'm not sure you have right now. And Blankenship and what you're going to do with CJ. One thing that Barrett Brooks and I were complaining about the year that Gardner Johnson was the guy who led the NFL in interceptions. There's one thing that you can put on film about him. If you look at the 22, his run fits were terrible. He's not the best tackler. In his angled pursuit, because he was learning a new position. Remember, he was a corner in New Orleans. He wasn't a slot safety. So he redefined himself by making plays out there in the slot. He's not a short tackler. He's never been. That's not his forte. So, I mean, and I wrote it down too here. Secondary, 0 picks in 5 days. and really 0 plays. Nothing. I think there's been like 3 batted balls down. Other than that, drop interception by Keeley. There's been no impact plays made. 0. And again, July 31st, first week, I don't know. You're not going to overcook this. Just something to go for. Now, look, again, these are things what you do next week when you have 2 weeks in. Did they rectify it? Did they work on it? Because easily they can. You can't really do it too much with your O-line when your guys are nicked up. Okay, you know what I'm saying? Shows you how elite Jalen Hurts' passes are. Well, he hasn't been very good the last 2 days. He's been okay. And that has a lot to do with the offensive line, having interchangeable pieces in the O-line. Both your guards are in and out. You had Lane in and out. And I think that's why some of the defense guys in the front 4 have gotten a home to Hurts, why he's held the ball on a little bit too long. So, again, July 31st. Let's put that into proper perspective here. Okay? Nothing to go crazy on here. Nothing to go crazy on. It's just, again, observations that I'm being told. Zach Bond is your best linebacker. He's the guy that Vic Fangio trusts the most. He gets the most reps. He's there in third down. He is, without a doubt, a guy who's going to be there first and second down. The thing that I hate is that they've got these specialized packages for Nakobe Dean being out there. He can't cover tight ends. We saw that on display last year when he was healthy. That guy cannot cover tight ends. He cannot cover tight ends. Mike, thank you very much. 101 likes already. Guys, you are killing it today. Thank you. Please hit them. Thank you very much, guys. But Bond looks like to me that this is going to be, see, that's a perfect type of football player for Vic Fangio. Not going to be an all-pro. He's not going to kill you, though. He's going to know where to line up, and he's going to be competent. Dude, I'll take 11 of those, and I'll win games with them. Thank you, Houston. Hey, I'll win a ton of games if I have 11 Zach Bonds. I'll be in the right position. I'll know where to go. I'll know where to line up. I may get beat. But when you have an offense like the Eagles, I'll take that. Okay? I'll take that. I mean, I don't get it. Keely Ringo and Isaiah Rodgers are getting the majority of the snaps at CB2. Vic's looking at these two guys, and there's probably going to be an opportunity for one of these guys to be CB3 here too. So, I mean, I think they're looking at proper combinations right now, what looks best. But Ringo and Isaiah Rodgers are getting a lot, and they're getting a lot of looks to be that cornerback too. My opinion, I don't believe that one of those guys will end up. I think Quinyon Mitchell probably is what they're wanting. But how fast will he get up to speed to be CB2? And do you want CB2? See, for me, Quinyon Mitchell at cornerback 2, and then you have Reed Blankenship and Gardner Johnson, and then you have Darius Slay. I'm all right with that because the experience, there's only one guy that's a rookie. And you can compensate for that. My problem with the safety positions, I'm going to get to it here. Let me get that out here in a minute. Let's go to Kellen Moore. It's clearly a motion offense. I don't care what John McMullen says. I don't care what Reuben Frank says. I don't give a shit what anyone says. Jeff McClain, this is a motion offense. They ran a ton of this same shit in Dallas. Hey, 304, if you're in here, this is the Cowboy offense, and it's a hybrid of it. And the only thing that's really kind of different here is 2 tight end set, and also they're doing some read options, and which they didn't do in Dallas, because they really didn't run Dak Prescott. So they've added those small little quirks to it. But this is the Cowboys' read option. I mean, this is the Cowboys' spread offense, motion offense. It's almost to the T. You can go back and look at game film or look at a 22 from 3 years ago, and you can see it's exactly the same offense when you look at the game tape that you see in practice here. Sills, thoughts on the secondary needing to think about what they should do instead of just play. That's a absolutely, Bob. You know, you're learning a new system, you're learning a new scheme. You're going to be a little slower. You're going to be behind the sticks a little bit, and you're going to be in catch mode where you're going to be behind the play because you're still thinking, and it's not natural yet because you haven't put the reps in. That's a true comment. That's a true comment. When you're learning something new, you're never going to be front side, play side. You're always going to be behind and chasing until you get it, and it's more of a comfort zone to you that you've been doing it with repetition. You're dead on. It's a great take, Bob. You know, you're still learning, and if you're learning, you're slow. If you know what to do, you're in front of the play, and you're in front of the sticks. So, again, this is just more – that's why you say this. On July 31st, you're not going to get crazy here because the more reps they get, the better off they're going to be. And by September 6th, could they be? Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. So it's a learning process here. So speaking of that, quick question. Do you think Kellen Moore had a down year last year? I'm going to tell you something, Prince. I think Kellen Moore got fucked over because he was with a horrible head coach and Brandon Staley. How in the world do you tell your offensive coordinator? Think about this. You go for it. You have the lead. It's 4th down and 8 on your own 10 or your own 20 on the road. And you tell your coordinator to call a pass play. Okay? Okay, I mean, how do you go to your coordinator? Kellen, let's run a hitch play on 1st and 10 from our own 20 with a minute left in the game. On the road, you got the lead. Dude, what are you doing? Then he throws a pick. And the only reason that the Vikings didn't win that game is because Kirk Cousins didn't have a timeout and he couldn't hear and the time ran out on him. How do you know what you're doing when your head coach doesn't know what he's doing? Brandon Staley was terrible. Who could have success in that? And then you got Herbert getting hurt. The whole thing was a shit show. I mean, the guy was not. Hey, Nick is Vince Lombardi to Brandon Staley. He's Vince Lombardi. Staley was a dumpster fire. How do you lose to Trevor Lawrence throwing 4 picks in a playoff game? Says, I think Brandon Staley was the biggest idiot as a head coach. Oh, he was terrible. Okay? So wait, Sills, you're giving more props for last year? No, I'm just telling you, how do you well, Eduardo, let me ask you this. Do you think he was in a proper situation last year to have success with Brandon Staley as your head coach? None of his receivers played more than 3 consecutive games, and Justin Herbert was playing with a broken finger. Then he ended up missing the rest of the season late in the year. Then he broke his index finger, was out for the rest of the year. Right, Prince. And then you had Brandon Staley as your head coach. Eduardo, thank you, brother. Guys, please hit the like button. I mean, he's trying to absolutely reinvent and to evolve the offense. There is something that is definitely one thing that you can say right now after the first week. That offense is not going to look remotely anything like it did a year ago. It may perform the same, but it's not going to come out of the huddle the same. Disguises, motions, alignment, under center, all kinds of different shit. It's a cosmetic makeover. If I could put it out there for you, Kellen Moore has given that Eagle offense a facelift. They may have the same production and numbers, but it's a facelift. And to me, that's what that offense needed, was a facelift. They gave him a facelift. Motion, 2 tight end set, read option, under center. The motion where, like you hear Grant Calcaterra saying, this motion offense, everybody's an option. That wasn't the priority a year ago. I'm awake, or you get off the bandwagon. I'm not on any bandwagon. I'm telling you what I'm seeing right now. No bandwagon. Did you not hear me say I don't think you're a Super Bowl team? I'm telling you, you're doing all the right things right to try to get to be a Super Bowl team. Ain't no bandwagon. You're not better than Detroit and San Francisco. You want me to go there? You're not better than those teams. You may become. You may become. You could be. War of attrition. Vic Fangio. Some of you don't like conservatism. There is no doubt Vic Fangio is the Donald Trump of defensive coordinators. He is a conservative defensive coach. Control and contain. That is the mantra of the Vic Fangio defense. From what I can see, there's going to be a lot of movement around. There's going to be a lot of different types of alignment. But he is the Donald Trump of defensive coordinators. Very conservative. Very. Don't give up the plus 25 play. You can eat all you want underneath. We're going to play red zone defense, and we're going to not give you the plus 25. Those are the only things he gives a shit about. And getting pressure. Cares about that. But other than that, if a wide receiver, 2 wide receivers go for 200 yards against him and they win the ball game 35-36 or 35-30, he doesn't care. He doesn't care how that looks. Okay? You're going to have to be prepared. But by the way, I happen to think that the NFL has evolved into that. Seeing a Ravens defense or a gangrene or a 85 Bears team. The last of the dying breeds of the great defenses are in San Francisco. That'll end when Purdy gets his contract. That'll end. Seals, if they don't score, they don't win. Probably so. Probably so. Okay? Is that conservatism at a detriment to the defense? To me, at the end of the day, Riding the Bench Eagle podcast, at the end of the day, if you don't get in the end zone, you don't put the point. He only cares about point differential. Vic wants to lead the NFL in least amount of points scored against his defense. He doesn't give a shit about pass defense. He doesn't give a crap about any of that. Just don't let him get the big play on you. Because what his attitude is, if you have a 14-play drive, somewhere in that 14-play drive, your quarterback or somebody's going to make a mistake. They're playing the law of averages, which isn't an awful thing. Multiple fronts. As I said, control and contain. See a lot of movement when it comes to his defense. Nakobe Dean. They want him on the field, it seems. And I still, again, don't know why. They really are still looking at his Georgia tape, which is the wrong tape to look at. I mean, they are hell-bent on getting him out there. And it's a detriment to, but I do not believe that Vic, but he comes up with these specialized packages to put him out there on third down. He's not good enough. I mean, he actually is now becoming, in my opinion, a detriment being on the roster. I mean, a roster seat is more important in him right now. Hit the like button. 128. Outstanding, guys. Appreciate that, man. Really good. Sills, are you saying that Vic will look for pressure with his D-line only, or will he attack? He's going to look with D-line pressure only because that's pretty much been his forte. Yes. Sills, how do you think Vic's West Coast bend don't break defense will do against Spags? Actually, do against Andy? Andy's going to spread them out. And Andy's going to – the problem that you have with a Kansas City offense versus a defense that plays against Vic Fangio like that is that Mahomes is going to find the open window. And so is Reed. They're going to find the open window. And if he doesn't, it's funny. I think that a guy like Patrick Mahomes wouldn't pull out the RPO in a regular season game versus the Eagles, and he would take the L. But if that was a playoff game or a Super Bowl, he'd pull out the RPO. I don't think winning a regular season game matters to him as much as it does being out there for week 17. And I think that's the emphasis that they have in Kansas City. Hey, you lose a game. I don't want to lose you in the middle of the season versus the Raiders, you running an RPO. I'd rather take the L. I would too. You can't put a price tag on that guy. I'd rather take an L than have Mahomes put in harm's way. Get me to the playoffs. Get me to the playoffs. I disagree. The drop-off from Braun to Dean can't be that bad. Braun is on the edge rusher. It's for – Nakobe Dean sucks. AJ and Devontae, pros. Elite, route runners, teammates. My opinion, the best duo of wide receivers in pro football. Hands down. Waddle, Tyreek Hill, Metcalf, and the other kid in Seattle. Ayuk and Debo. No way. No way. Philadelphia has the best wide receiving duo in pro football. I don't believe it's as close as people think. Because I'll tell you why. One of those guys is a physical presence, and the other guy's the finesse guy. In Miami, all you have is finesse. Hill and Waddle are finesse guys. Pro football's not a finesse league. That team got murdered last year, the Miami Dolphins. Every time they got into a game, the easiest game of the year against a quality opponent was the Dolphin game for the Eagles. That game was never close. That was probably their most efficient game versus a top-flight offense and play caller of any game they played last year, and they blew them off the field. They punched him in the head, and that was the end of that game. I don't like finesse. Okay? I just do not like finesse. Gardner Johnson and Blankenship. Too deep coverage. Haven't really done anything. Are they going to be sure tacklers back there? We'll see. I think Reed's a good player. Great? No. But he's a good player. Gardner Johnson? If Gardner Johnson doesn't have big plays in his armory, he's not a very good safety. He's got to be a playmaker to capitalize on some of the deficiencies that he has when it comes to angle pursuit and tackling. He's not good at it. So he's got to be a playmaker. Tip passes, interceptions, returns, shit like that. He's got to be good at. Okay, but, I mean, if you take the 6 interceptions away, he's a marginal slot safety. Health is wealth. Definitely true for him. Definitely true. Chase and Higgins, I'll take AJ and Devontae. There's my assessment of some of the things I've seen with some of the players in the first week. We're going to get Mark Holmes. That'll be at the bottom of the hour. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to look at the NFC East. Seal's going to take a shit on AJ in about 10 minutes. Dude, I told you. AJ Owens is a great player. He whines and cries, but I'm all right with it. I am totally all right with his moaning and his crying and his bitching. You give me 3,000 yards in 2 years, I'm okay with his moaning and crying. He's productive. Just like I'd be okay with Michael Irvin being out in a whorehouse, being suspended. I'm okay with that. You give me 100 catches, 1,400 yards, and help me win Super Bowls. I'm not a guidance counselor. I'm not a drug rehab guy. I'm a football coach. That's right, the scale system. Lawrence Taylor, you want to go out and do eight balls? Get me 3 sacks and 14 tackles and win the game against the Saints on a Monday night? Have at it. Have at it. This is football. This isn't the Good Guy Year Award Club. Seals, don't you want quality? No, I want football players on my team. You don't win championships with choir boys. You win football games and championships with a mix of them. But I want the quality. Yeah, all right, guy. If you was that confident, you would say when we get 14 wins, but you even though you talk, I'm not sure what that is. They're flexing. I don't give a shit about 14 wins. I care about winning Lombardi trophies. You could have 10 wins and do it. Does it matter? Does it matter? Hey, everybody, man. Boy, I'll tell you what. Everyone moans and cries about when Big Sills starts jumping on AJ Owens. Come on, man. He's having a good camp. It's July 31st. I haven't seen AJ Owens appear yet. So he's AJ Brown. I'll let you know. Feels, imagine how he gets Aaron Donald out of retirement. I think that has to go through the Rams. I do. I think that has to go through the Rams first before that to happen. Seals, if we run 12 personnel inside the 40, have an effective wide receiver 3 between the 40s, and create situational football with this unique talent we have in this offense, can be scary. Absolutely. Especially if you're getting sustained drives going with Barkley and you're able to be third and short the entire time like you were in 22. That's going to be the key to this offense. Third and short. Last year we're third and long. Okay? Not even talk to your fat ass. You can't read. Okay, Flexen. You get a translator up for your typing, jackwagon. Okay? AJ, boy, guys start moaning and crying about the guy. Jesus criminy. Too many tears for fears. Wow, insulting the host. Tim, I'm not thinking you're aiming at me because I don't get insulted. I'm an equal opportunity offender. Okay? I'm an equal opportunity offender. All right. I want to go around before we get Mark Holmes on. Philly 500 can't this week. So I'm going to leave the Cowboys to the last here. I'm going to do the New York Giants first. Talking to Phil Simms last night. Here's your opponents in the NFC East. Daniel Jones, for the first week of Giants camp, has looked atrocious. Yesterday, he was 5 of 14. He was throwing ducks, overthrows, underthrows. He's unbecoming of a quarterback in pro football. It's arguably one of the worst contracts of all time for a $40 million guy. He looks awful in Giants camp. Okay? Awful. Welcome to Big Sales. If you're sensitive, leave. Prince, my boy, man. God, you imagine paying a guy that kind of money and he has massive cap hits. Hey, Joe Schoen, you're a dick. You are a horrible general manager. I thought Dave Gettleman was a piece of shit. This guy's the worst. Barkley, hey, Saquon, you are so lucky to be out of that rat-infested front office known as the New York Giants. Wow, are you lucky? They were going to destroy you. Now you get a chance to rejuvenate your career. Wow. My God, that thing is run by an incompetent general manager. Like I said, give me the days of Jerry Reese. I mean, they miss him so much in Tom Coughlin. They wanted those two guys out of that front office so bad they thought they had worn their welcome out. It has been a shit show of coaches, and it's been a shit show of GMs in New York. What an absolute rotten organization. Terrible. Again, you know what's crazy? That Malik Neighbors looks sensational. He's dominating everybody, but it shows you about the secondary that they have. Yeah, get Daniel Jones missing deep passes. Even Jalen Hygett is looking great, but the quarterback looks terrible. Giants have awful talent everywhere on that roster. Holes everywhere. Their secondary is not very good. The Eagles will have a field day. Jalen, hey, Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown will destroy the Giants secondary. The tight end from Penn State's not looking bad. But you can look at it right now. The New York Giants might be one of the worst organizations and one of the worst rosters built this past offseason. And it starts with their incompetent quarterback. Let's do the Cowboys. Very early in the process here. Wide receiver flashes now that CD's out. Jalen Tolbert, from what I'm being told by Stephen Jones, has stepped up for wide receiver 3. Brandon Cooks, it looks like, is going to be wide. It's going to go CD, Brandon Cooks, and it's going to be Jalen Tolbert. We'll talk more with Mark at the bottom of the hour about this. Trey Lance has looked awful. He's looked worse in Dallas than he did in San Francisco. Overthrows, underthrows, can't find a target. And every single time that he gets any kind of pressure, he takes off and scrambles. He's not challenging himself to get better as a passer. He's absolutely terrible. Trey Lance will go down as one of the biggest and most colossal, disastrous picks because of the 3 first-rounders. Just an absolute colossal disaster. I can't believe. What a Niner all day. What'd you guys get for him when you traded him to Dallas? Because that's one of the great hijackings of all time. They weren't able to recoup any of the first-rounders, but they at least got something for him. If the Cowboys were to put him out there on the open market right now, they would get nothing for him. Nobody would trade for him. Okay? Nobody would trade for him. I mean, if you thought that guy was going to be like somebody that was going to help in negotiations with a trade, a 5th rounder, I can't believe the 49ers got a 5th rounder for him. on the way he's looked. Nobody that I've talked to in Dallas says that this guy looks good. Here are the wide receivers that the Cowboys are going to roll out if they go 4 deep. Lamb, Cooks, Jalen Tolbert, Kayvon Tubman are going to be your 4 wide receivers in Dallas. Tyler Guyton has to start. And what they're doing is they're putting Parsons on him and giving him as much work as possible. He's got to start. Here's their offensive line. Tyler Guyton yesterday did pretty well against Parsons, from what I'm told. And looks pretty decent. Tyler Smith at left guard. Cooper Beebe, it's going to take time. Brock Huffman is going to be the starter because he can't get the snap up right now. Zach Martin at right guard. And Terrence Steele will be the right tackle. Not a horrible O-line, but not the O-line it was 3 years ago. BB struggling because he's trying to go through the same Mark Stepnoski type transition from guard to center, and he can't get the snap up right now. So some days he looks good, some days he doesn't. They're putting people on the nose, and he's just struggling to get the snap up to just the quarterback. So will he start, or will they give up and put him back over at guard? Will be the big question. That's going to take time. It took Stepnoski time. Kalen Carson in their secondary could be cornerback 3. He's had a nice camp so far. Cowboys have a really good secondary, and I think they're going to do pretty good things back there in the secondary. So that's some of the news coming out of the Cowboys. We'll talk more with Mark on that here at the bottom of the hour. Here's the Commanders. Jaden Daniels is dominating in camp, and I love it. They're slow feeding him, but he's dominating. Players are loving Dan Quinn. Bates, the tight end. Hey, James Jones, if you're in here, they're really liking this kid. Bates, they're going to go 2 tight end set. He's a really good blocker. The offensive line is still a work in progress. They're trying to find the right combination. So they're doing a ton of combinations in camp so far, are the Commanders. This is going to be the essential part of whether or not Jaden Daniels has good success this year, is if this guy. So if what I'm being told by Doug Williams is that be prepared that you're going to see the offensive line and a lot of 5-step drop, get the ball out quick. You can't have them sit back there in a 7-step and have progression reading when you don't know what your old line looks like right now. It's just something to keep an eye on. Okay? Defensive tackles, Jonathan Allen and Duran Armstrong, kid they got from Dallas. They're looking for Allen to have a bounce-back year. Okay? Like he had a couple of years ago. And Quan Martin looks like he's really going to be a good football player. Could be an all-pro safety. So Commanders are looking pretty good, man. Commanders are looking pretty good. Okay? Pretty good. Let's see. I'll tell you what. The East could be better than what I thought. Guys, do me a favor. Please hit the like list. Or please hit the likes. So, again, July 31st. Then now you start to see the second week. You start to see more installments. Okay? Then you're going to start seeing installments. You're going to start seeing this coming week where they'll start getting ready for a little bit of Baltimore. And they'll start getting themselves acclimated and getting ready for the exhibition season. That I don't know how much they're going to do. All right, we're going to take a time out before we get Mark in here. Xander, how many likes do we have right now? Where are we in the like list? Hit the like button, guys. You guys are killing it. You guys were killing it yesterday, and we're going to talk to Mark Holmes about his Cowboys. Where are we on the like list? We're at almost 150. That's fantastic, guys. Fantastic stuff. Do me a favor. Hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
Heading down the shore, have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood day.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
They're carving them up and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Win and save this baseball season from Colony Pools and Power Washing, a local company serving Delaware, Delco, and Chester County since 1970. Are you tired of looking at your greenhouse? Is your roof, siding, deck stained green from algae and mold? Let the experts pressure wash your home and take the pressure off of you. Win with Colony Pools and Power Washing. Call them now at 302-762-2250. That's 302-762-2250.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Big Sales National Football Show. Please hit the like button. Micaiah Becton getting some play at right guard. How will that play out? Boy, I'll tell you what. For the player and the organization, if that thing plays out, you're talking about a grand slam for both. Micaiah Becton could go into the open market knowing that he could be a tackle anywhere. If he were on the open market right now, he could start on probably 75% of the teams in the National Football League. You got to realize something in today's NFL. Offensive linemen are harder to find than wide receivers. Every single one of the big played wide receivers has been traded. CeeDee Lamb going into a new contract. Obviously, we'll talk to Mark here in a second about that. But almost every one of them. And the money, when you get it, look at Justin Jefferson. Where's he going? You think Justin Jefferson's ever going to win a Super Bowl in Minnesota? Never. You think Tyreek Hill's ever going to win a Super Bowl in Miami? Never. You can pay guys all you want, but if you don't have the proper signal caller, you're not going to win. Receivers don't win you Super Bowls. Quarterbacks do. You got to have the right guy pulling the trigger. And when you have the right guy pulling the trigger, that usually means you have a pretty good offensive line. I would rather spend $25 to $35 million or $26 million on an offensive tackle than a receiver. Especially when I've got quarterbacks that can win. get this. Let me show you something about quarterbacks and wide receivers before we get Mark on here. The San Francisco 49ers got to the Super Bowl with a guy making $850,000. And the Kansas City Chiefs won a Super Bowl with not one guy with 900 yards receiving on their team. Why are you paying them guys? It's all about the QB, man. It's about the QB and the O-line. You don't have the right guy, you are not going to win. And you don't have the right pieces around him. You're not going to win. Now, I had a chance to talk to Stephen Jones last night. We did a little bit of the camp, the first week at camp. I'm not sure the Cowboys have had a padded practice yet. Here's the Cowboys here. And let's bring our friend Mark Holmes in, who's got a pretty interesting offseason going on so far. By the way, Mark does a great job covering the Dallas Cowboys. Appreciate it, brother. How you doing, man?
Well, how are you doing there today, Dan? You know, the Cowboys, we try and put the best team on the field. And, you know, I got to be like Harry Houdini to get these guys signed here. But we actually have had our first padded practice yesterday. And Tyler Guyton, that first-round pick of ours, man, he looks really, really good. And we got our second padded practice going on as we speak right now.
Here's what I'm –
Did that sound like Stephen Jones to you?
No, yeah. How you doing, Diane? This is what we're doing here. Sometimes we get players with dents in the fender, and we sign players with dents in the fender as long as they can produce. How I look at people and how I'll always look at people, and I love it. But hey, here's my takeaways, and tell me early in the process here. Because CD's out. First and foremost, let's start there. The money that's being offered to him, it looks like there's just logistics of the languaging and payouts right now that they're going back and forth on. It looks like this deal's going to get done here probably by the end of the week, where you could see CeeDee Lamb in camp. So, I mean, was he the right first guy to go to, or should it have been Dak Prescott?
Well, you know, they always say the squeaky wheel gets the lube. And with him not being there, let's be clear here. He is the major part of the offense with, you know, Zeke coming back. You got to have him. I know in today's offense, the wide receiver isn't as important as the offensive line and the tight end, but you got to have some really good players. You made a great point in here where you were saying about San Francisco basically paying their quarterback under $1 million and went to the Super Bowl. It's true that you have to, it's all about the quarterback. But see, the problem is, I don't know if Walker Wade's going to be in the house dropping you a few super chats or not. His whole thing is it's just the quarterback. But unfortunately, it's still a team game. You know, they'll say, well, Dak isn't anything like Roger Staubach. Yeah, but Roger Staubach had how many Hall of Famers around him? You have to have a great quarterback, but you also have to have pieces to go along with it. So getting CD in is important.
Well, of course, you had Dorsett. You had really great players in the offensive line. Billy Joe Dupree was a pretty good tight end, was a guy who was a productive tight end for them. Robert Newhouse was a guy who was a tremendous fullback. So they had a bunch of really great tools for Staubach. But I said this the other day about your team, Mark. I think you're in the land right now of Danny White, that Dak is really good. But I don't know if Dak is going to – and Danny White actually got to NFC Championship games. He just lost them. I think he got to 5 of them. But you're just in the era right now. And, again, back in that era, you could keep guys. You didn't have to worry about salary caps. You know, you were kind of pigeonholed to the organization that drafted you. You had no lateral freedom, so you couldn't leave the organization. But still, you know, they've got to figure out, and they've really got to come to Jesus and have the conversation. Is Dak the guy who can look like a Super Bowl champion quarterback? Is he the guy who can lead me to that guy?
Well, here's my thought on this. I don't know that there is a guy with their way of building a team and doing it is enough. Because as I look at the Eagles constantly, what did they do about Jalen Hurts? We're not sure if Jalen Hurts is the guy or not. We got a backup plan that if he fails, we got draft picks that we can get somebody. But let's give him everything that we can to make sure that he's successful. That's something that the Cowboys, the only time you've looked at that and said that's what they've done was when they went out and got Amari Cooper, and then they got rid of him. When they got rid of Amari Cooper and Cedric Wilson, they didn't replace him. Now you had a young star in CeeDee Lamb who's doing great, but see, this is where San Francisco, this is where the Eagles, this is where other teams look and say, we've got a really good core group of guys. What can we do to get them over the hump? Right now, I look and I say, Tyler Guyton looks like he's actually going to be pretty good. And I caution people to get too excited over one padded practice, but you look and say, okay, maybe he's a little bit better than what the early words were saying that maybe he won't be ready to start. He's got to be a day one starter, and he's got to make an impact. And it looks like that's the direction that they're going. But again, I say, use caution. It looks like Nealon may end up being a decent, pass rusher to replace Sam Williams. And your guy that you can't stand, Mozzie, seems to have a bit of a different attitude and seeming to be at the right weight at that 310 right now and being able to start doing stuff. But again, I say it's still early. So, you've got good pieces. Yeah, you got good pieces, but hey, why not say, let's go out and get another, defensive lineman that'll help us stop the run. Let's go out and get a running back who doesn't have as many miles on it as Zeke. Instead, they'll just say, we like the guys we have. And this is why you go into the playoffs with a safety at linebacker.
Here's some of the things that I was told here in the last couple of days here about the Cowboys, that Jalen Tolbert looks pretty good. Mm-hmm. That, here's a guy that could sit maybe in that wide receiver 3. He's getting a lot of reps.
Really good.
But Jalen Tolbert looks like he's doing a pretty good job there in Dallas camp, and that him and Dak look like they have a pretty good repertoire between one another there. So he's, in your opinion, looking pretty good in camp?
Yeah, for the number 3 wide receiver, it's definitely going to be an improvement over what we have with Michael Gallup. For whatever reason, I think they rushed Michael Gallup back 2 years ago because he had gotten the new contract, and it seemed like he had lost all confidence and the leg just never seemed to be right. But they still kept trying to push him out there. Jalen Tolbert had half of the snaps and was almost as productive as Michael Gallup was, and they should have probably used him more. The thing about Jalen Tolbert was his rookie year, which every place he's been, his first year has just been awful. Started coming on last year and working with Dak and his home field and stuff in the backyard and stuff. It seems like without CeeDee Lamb, that they've gotten more work and stuff in, and it's helped definitely the younger guys hopefully step up. That once you get CD in there, then you'll have a capable wide receiver core. The guy who hasn't really stood out so much right now is Brandon Cooks.
Here's what I'm hearing about your wide receiving core. By the way, guys, please hit the like button here. Here's what I'm hearing for your 4 guys: Lamb, Brandon Cooks 2, Jalen Tolbert 3, and Kayvon
Turpin.
Turpin will be your number 4 guy. Those will be your top 4 receivers.
Right. He's also a kick returner.
Early in camp right now, July 31st, unless they decide to make a personnel move, those are going to be the wide receivers that are going to go into the first week of the season, correct?
That sounds about right. Now, Brandon Brooks is actually looking really good too. And it may end up being that Turpin still stays basically the special teamer, and they end up keeping Brooks on the roster because then he's basically the 4th wide receiver as well.
See, here's the thing that Eagle fans don't get. Outside of Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown, they have nothing. I mean, wide receiver 3, there's see, I say this all the time to people that are Eagle fans. People go like this, Sills, what do you think of the wide receiver room? I don't think it's very good. Certainly not deep. I go, but you got 2 phenomenal football players.
If one of them goes down.
And A.J. Brown, but you have no depth level, whereas the Cowboys have functional guys in the building, and you're kind of 4 deep. They're not 4 deep. And I'm not saying that these guys outside of Lamb are world beaters. Cooks is probably, like, I get this. Brandon Cooks would easily start on the Eagles at wide receiver 3.
I'd have to agree with that. He
would receiver. Easily start with anything they have in the building there, including Paris Campbell.
And he'll thrive with CD. If he had to be the number 1, we'd be in trouble. But with CD Lamb out there taking the attention and stuff, And with you also having Jake Ferguson is going to be a major piece this year. If he can continue to rise like he has been, that's going to be able to really spread the field and actually help our running game. I know you laugh at our running game.
Get this here. See, a guy goes like this. Name me okay, let's take A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith off the field. Name me one wide receiver that you're going to go into a football game with if you're the Eagles as your number one primary target. Paris Campbell?
Okay. Yeah, you're in trouble then.
Aniyah Smith?
Mm-hmm.
Who are they going to – I mean, they make it – look, they're two elite guys. Their room's not good.
Mm-hmm.
They got two guys that – let me tell you this. When you lost one guy in the playoff game last year against the Bucs, the offense looked like shit. Hey, wait a minute. I'm awake or you? Who's your number one primary target? If Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown are not there, who as your wide receivers, who are your number one targets? Paris Campbell? John Ross? Who's that?
Nobody.
Who's John Ross?
And see, this in lies the problem with the Cowboys, which reared its head with Sam Williams getting hurt.
It's not awful. It's not great except Lamb.
Yeah.
But it's not awful, and I think they're deeper than Philly.
But here's the difference, though, with Philly, though, is you're going to be predicated more on the run than the Cowboys will. You have that more to rely on. If we end up losing Brandon Cooks and CD, I'm not sure that we're going to be able to rely on Rico and Zeke the same way that you guys are going to be able to rely on Saquon.
Here's something about Tyler Guyton here. I heard that huge. There's been a little bit of I'm not talking about the tight end. I'm talking about your shit number 3 receiver. Tyler Guyton has kind of wobbled a little bit, but yesterday, as you said, they put Parsons on him. If that's me, Mark, I put Parsons on him every practice. I put him every single practice I possibly can, whether it's against the run, pass, what have you, so that I can get him primed and ready for the opening week against – is it Detroit you guys play?
No, we play the Browns.
Browns, that's right. You play the Cleveland Browns.
So
because you're going to have Myles Garrett over there, too. You got to deal with Myles Garrett and Jim Schwartz's defenses.
That is going to be a trial by fire. Well, what we had heard a couple weeks ago was that Tyler Guyton wasn't going to be ready to be starter, and Chimo Igoda was looking to actually be the starter possibly week 1. And it was like that's just like, okay, now we got shades of Mozzie Smith. Being as tall as he is, 6'7" and 330, typically guys that have that kind of length, they're not real good with their feet. But I'm going to say that this guy, I'm going to call him Twinkle Toes. He actually is really quick with his feet. And when he was going against Micah Parsons, and now my bigger question is was it more about Tyler Guyton or was it more about Micah Parsons that maybe Micah Parsons isn't quite yet ready because he's dropped about 10 pounds because he figured he was too heavy last year. And it may be that he's not quite there because he wasn't there for OTAs. But be that as it may, he's really good at taking that blow that they come in of being able to recoil, get his arms on him, and to be able to stay with him because Micah Parsons is trying to get up underneath that edge. He's dipping and ripping and trying to get there, but Tyler is keeping with him the whole way and just washing him past. So, again, it's only one practice.
Right.
Okay?
It's July 31st. I mean, what's funny is you see a lot of people talking about, I think one thing that Dak does really well, Dak works on a lot of things that he's not good at.
Mm-hmm. And gets better.
And guess what? Last year they were talking about all the picks he was throwing in camp. Well, when the season came, he only threw 7. So, I mean,
9.
right?
It was 9. But
it was 9. Okay.
People don't remember. He broke his freaking throwing thumb, guys. Come on.
Cal Clowns could pay Dak $25 for 9 years since the bum is 2-5 playoff over 9 years.
Okay.
Again, I'll say one more time here. I think Dak Prescott could lose wide receivers and still win ball games. He's a better passer than Jalen Hurts. He's a better passer.
One thing I will say.
He's a better pocket passer. That's a fact. And by the way, to your point about Kellen, I see a lot of the motion offense that he ran in Dallas 2 years ago. All that motion offense he runs, Now what they're
Give me a
putting in
lot.
is read option. There's a couple read option plays for Barkley and for Jalen, but there are a couple 2 tight end sets. I don't know if they ever ran 2 tight end.
Oh, we were great with Tua. I love 12
Well,
personnel.
that's why it's being implemented also
12 personnel was
in
my
Philadelphia,
favorite
because
package.
they ran 2 tight end in Dallas.
Here's the thing that happens with Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore actually is a great play designer. And
It seems that's a great take. It does.
Yeah. But the thing is, and I'm going to say Jason Garrett had the same thing. When the bright lights came on in playoffs, the things that you were doing well, for some reason, just disappeared in the playoffs. Because things that worked really, really well with Dak is great on the move outside the pocket. Bootlegs, 12 personnel was deadly. To me, 12 personnel, I love 12 personnel because if you have the right kind of tight ends, you can go, we're just going to go man, and we're just going to run the ball down your throat.
They're doing some of this now in Philly.
And if you have pass-catching tight ends, you can go empty backfield, and you've got 5 guys out there to catch the football. And if you got a defense that's got 8 men in the box because you're worried about stopping it, you got numbers against them. But when we get to the playoffs, that stuff disappeared every time with Kellen Moore.
Here's the look that I have with your old line, according to Stephen Jones.
Mm-hmm.
Guyton at left tackle, Tyler Smith at left guard. According to him, he thinks it's going to be Huffman. That's going to be the starting center.
Huffman played 3 games for us last year in relief, and played
I'll get to him in a second. Martin right guard, and Terrence Steele at right tackle. They said that Cooper Beebe is struggling from the Mark Stepnoskis.
Yeah.
Because what's happening is he's having a hard time getting a snap up, and he can't get the snap up. But Mark struggled with that. He went from guard to center, and they're kind of trying to do the same thing here. So that's why one day he looks good, Mark, and then the next day he doesn't look good. It's just going to be hit or miss until he's able to get that football and snap it back up to the quarterback. So they're probably going to go with Hoffman, in my opinion, probably as a starter, maybe early. I don't know. I don't believe they'll put Cooper Beebe back over at guard, but again, he could be your swing guard if anything goes down.
That's to me, it's funny that you even say that, because that's exactly what I was saying this morning in one of my videos. I'm okay if Brock Hoffman is ready to play and he can play at least as good as we got last year, and you can take your time with Cooper Beebe, and if you need to, he can be the swing guard. I hope nothing happens with Tyler Smith or Zach Martin. But, if I have Cooper Beebe, who has been an outstanding guard, as a backup, I actually feel a lot better because at least we have some depth there. And he's having a little bit of problems with the shotgun snaps. And he's doing the extra work and stuff on trying to get that together. But it's definitely a work in progress.
I'm hearing that Kalen Carson, according to the personnel people, are saying that they really like what this kid looks like and that you're creating depth back there, especially for the 2 guys that you have, your Pro Bowlers at cornerback, that this guy's creating some depth for them. And one thing that the Cowboys have done a nice job of, they've been landing on secondary guys. The safeties, they've been landing on them in the cornerback positions. They've been finding guys. So, I mean, it's pretty good back there so far. And here's another kid that could be like maybe cornerback 3 or 4.
Mm-hmm. And you have to actually give a lot of credit to Al Harris, because Al Harris, I think, is one of the most underrated coaches. And I would not be surprised to see him as a defensive coordinator in the next couple of years, because he's been able to take guys that have been very, very raw and really coach them up. Bland was not, he's a 5th-round draft pick. And I know a lot of people will still say his cover skills aren't great. But when you can get 6 pick sixes and you're only in your 2nd year, this is the year that you're going to be working on him to get better cover skills. He's not going to get as many interceptions and things, but he should become a better corner.
What about the fact that no one's showing up to Cowboy camp like in the past, where Cal Lutheran places in the stands used to be packed now?
Bro,
is it because they have such low expectations of the team? I don't know how you can have high expectations right now. Because I don't know what the Cowboys look like. I went around the NFC and I did all the NFC East teams and what the word is coming out of camp. But boy, I'm telling you, when I hear and talk to Cowboy people, I'm not sure what they even think they have.
I think Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones, the house that they built, that they finally, people are fed up. After the Green Bay game and after seeing and listening to Jerry say we're all in and seeing us do absolutely nothing, here's the thing that's going to be crazy is, and I've been here every year the last 3 years. The Cowboys do absolutely nothing in free agency. They get killed by the media. They don't care about winning. And they play good enough to be a playoff team, or at least be close enough to be a playoff team. Or they get to the playoffs and they lose a game. That's not the problem. They do some things that are incredible. They find talent where others don't. When I look at, if Tyler Guyton ends up being one of the first-round draft picks that we have that becomes all-pro, you can't, argue with that. You can look at the Giants and what they've done with, getting Evan Neal, who stinks, and everything else. They find a lot of good players. Their problem is that last 10% where they got to top it off and have a little bit more for the playoffs, they just don't do.
This is what the problem, though, in my opinion, with Dallas is they're afraid to make the tough cut.
Yes.
And what I mean by that is if they see a guy who's a really good player, they're going to do this. And by the way, again, folks, Eagle fans, these are the people you have to beat. They own you, 9-4. Okay? These are the people you have to beat. We don't cover the Cardinals. This is the team you have to beat
twice a
for
year
you to win the NFC East. Okay? Eagle fans believe, again, there's a reason why in the last 23 years there hasn't been a repeat team win the NFC East. They think that you're going to just run through the Cowboys when the Cowboys have owned you. I mean, yes, but what do they do in the postseason? I'm not talking about the postseason. You get paid on the regular season. Nobody gets paid on the offseason. So the Cowboys are the number one obstacle for the Eagles this year when it comes to winning their division. You first have to, what kills me, Mark?
What kills you?
Is that people don't understand. You draft and you sign free agents to combat your division first.
Yes.
You don't draft to beat the 49ers or Detroit. You draft to beat Dallas because the number one objective is to first win your division where you get a home field at minimum when you're in the playoffs. And if you happen to be good, you can host the NFC Championship game. Everyone's under the assumption, well, we've got to stay up to par with the 49ers. The 49ers are in the West. Have nothing to do with you. You may never see them again until the NFC title game, but you're going to see Dallas twice, and you got to beat them.
So I got a question for you here. Now that you're seeing that Kellen Moore is basically using his Cowboys offense, I heard you. I
like what he's doing.
Do you think Hurts is going to be able to turn that switch on and be ready week one?
I don't know that. I don't. I think because what I'm hearing from Grant Calcaterra is that they're saying it's a lot of motion.
Mm-hmm.
He's also now responsible for setting line protection. Last year, you had Jason Kelsey doing that. Now you have a lot more in the process because this is what Grant Calcaterra said too, is that in this motion offense, everybody's an option. And so last year, everybody wasn't an option. There was two dudes that were an option, Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. So now he's got to spread the ball around, which means this. Here's the number one issue I have with Hurts. Is that going to be still an issue with him holding on to the football too long? I still think that his pocket presence, in my opinion, I question it.
To me, it always seems like he's ready. If his first read's not there, he's ready to run. He's ready to get out of there. He just doesn't – sometimes he just doesn't look comfortable unless he's on the move. And that's the thing that Mike McCarthy did last year with Kellen Moore. He didn't scrap everything that Kellen Moore did. There's some things that they've done that have been really, really good. But what he did do was he simplified it and got rid of a lot of the combination routes. He tried to speed it up so that way you can get the ball out of the quarterback's hands before you get hit. And sometimes with Kellen Moore's offense, you're going to end up having slower developing plays, lots of comebacks and things, where the quarterback and the wide receivers have to be on the same page, as opposed to, I'm throwing to this spot, you better be there, and that's where it's coming right now. And that definitely helped Dak last year. Our offensive line looked a lot better as far as pass protection because they did speed it up and getting the ball out of their hands. It'll be interesting to see how it works with Jalen Hurts, because I think Jalen Hurts is not exactly that type of quarterback. He's an incredible. Don't send me your hate mail, Eagle fans. Hurts is a great
what Eagle
quarterback.
fans don't want to hear is they don't want to hear Cowboy shit, even though the Cowboys are the people that you got to beat. Funny how that works. It's just
you know what's funny,
idiotic.
Though, here's
it's idiotic.
That's funny. I was watching my buddy Game Time Brian's last night, and here it is, the first day of padded practice. Right, so you got all the news about your new guys and everything else. Yet Eagle fans are still right there on Cowboys pages when there's so much news of their own team. So that'll protest too much. All of these idiots over here saying why you have Mark Holmes here, this, that, and the other. You know, your ass loves me being here, guys.
No, because I think it's important that we have to stay and stick in with the Joneses.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're going to win the East, you have to beat Dallas. You just have to beat Dallas. I mean, Dallas has to beat Philly. If they want to do anything this year, because, again, common opponent twice, there's no question that, again, this has gone on from Vermeil to today. I don't care what anybody says. What Dallas does dictates what Philadelphia will do in the postseason. Okay? It will. By the way, the Cowboys won the division last year. The Cowboys in the last 8 years have won 4 division titles.
And
I mean,
done 0 for us. But now that you've seen the first couple of practices and training camp and stuff, do you feel better about the Eagles or feel worse about the Eagles?
I do. I feel better because of the coordinators. And I'll tell you something that I do like what Kellen Moore is doing. Kellen Moore has given the Eagle offense a facelift. And what I mean by that is, you said one thing that he did when he was in Dallas, Mark, that he is a good play designer. The one thing that he's doing right now, there's a lot of motion. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of different looks under the center. There's guys in wide receiver 3 position. They're putting AJ and Devontae in the slot. They may be the same plays, Mark, but at the end of the day, they've given this whole entire offense a facelift. Now, how will that translate? It's July 31st. I don't know. We're going to have to see what that looks like come September 6th against the Packers. Yeah. But right now, I like it. And on the other side with Fangio is, I'm going to tell you what, like I said before, he's the conservative of conservative defensive coordinators. It's control and contain, which means he's going to keep everything underneath. Teams are going to have a field day. Prescott's going to throw for 350 yards against this defense. Now, the question will be this, though. Mm-hmm. Will you score? Because his number one thing will be this. He wants to defend from 20 in. He doesn't want to give big plays up. And can you have sustained drives against the Eagles? That is how he thinks about playing defense. Quarterbacks in the NFL are going to have a high completion percentage versus the Eagle defense this year, at least early, until they get acclimated, especially in the secondary. But what they're going to do is everything will be underneath. There'll be a lot of yards underneath, like there was in Miami. And that's kind of what you're going to see. However, they got a lot of young talent. This Quinyon Mitchell kid looks like he's somebody. So it's going to be something like that in that room.
So you're picking more than 7 wins for the Eagles now?
No, I didn't say that. I want to see it. I want to see it on the field first.
Okay. Well,
I'm not that guy on July 31st to sit there because a guy's been in pajamas for 4 days and then you get into pads for 1 day. I want to see it in game situation when sometimes you lose your shit when you're out there and all of a sudden somebody's running by you. You know, everybody's got a plan, Mark, until someone punches you in the face.
And that's when things change. Well, I can say that the players that we lost, because there's been, of course, a lot, losing Dante Fowler and Dorrance Armstrong and Hankins and, of course, Tyron Smith and things. We have a bunch of holes where we do have to have guys that are going to have to step up and play. And they're going to be guys that people don't necessarily know. But at the moment, you can look and say, okay, I can see the plan that was here. Now, the thing for the Cowboys with people not showing up with the Joneses and things, Cowboy fans are tired of hearing the good old Jerry Jones, we're all in, and Stephen Jones that you can't sign anybody. I think the Cowboys need to actually just make a move beyond just signing their own guys. They need
I like
to do
this right here
something.
by picking what he says. I think that Armstrong loss that you guys had, I think that's a big loss.
You know, the thing with Armstrong,
he looks pretty good in commander camp.
He does. And he's not a bad player, but the amount of money that he's getting paid for is quite a bit. And you did draft him Marshawn Nealon. If Marshawn Nealon can continue to go like he has, he's like D-Law. And so you look at that and say that's a play. Sam Williams, had he had as many snaps as Dorrance Armstrong, he would have been just as good. But unfortunately, we've lost him for the season. But I think the Cowboys need to make a move just to make a move to appease the masses, because Cowboy fans are just tired. They're fed up. They're sick of going to the playoffs and losing in the first round. He needs to do something to get the Cowboy fans excited again. Now, will they? I don't know.
Let me end this with this. Do you believe by the end of training camp, Dak Prescott will have a deal?
I think so, because I think the Cowboys went to camp, I think, looking at Trey Lance and trying to say, let's see what we really have with him right now. Is he viable? And thus far, he's had a couple of decent passes, but for the most part, you look and say he's a long ways away. And hearing Dak Prescott in the opening press conference that day, that it seems like he's ready to say, you know what, it's a business. And I think the Cowboys actually have a sense of urgency right now. Now, what you've heard Steven say, and you've talked to Steven, so maybe you know a little bit more that you can't share, but they've sent over offers, which doesn't necessarily mean much, to CD and to Dak, and they're basically saying we're waiting to hear back from them. So they are trying to get these things done.
I'll tell you what, man. One thing I can count on Eagle fans, they hate you.
Oh, my God. They love to hate
Not only do
me.
they hate you, they hate your team. They don't want to hear anything positive out of Cowboy camp. They fucking hate you, man. Hey, and I love that. I do, because you know why? What they don't get is, once again, like I said, hey, you may hate the Cowboys, but you got to beat the Cowboys.
You're right about that.
You got to beat them. Okay,
Well,
you got to beat them.
I hope to see you next Wednesday.
Gotcha.
That we actually can do this show together live, so they can really be hating at Cowboy camp. Okay.
Oh my God. I can just imagine Stephen Jones coming over talking, what about the Eagles, Stan? I hear you covering the Eagles.
Stephen
okay.
Jones
I hear you covering.
Have me escorted out of the place.
Look at this guy. Look at Prince. Get this guy effing. Hey, dude. See, that's a merit badge for you right there.
Oh, Lordy.
That's a merit badge. Okay? Know that, Mark. Mark, tell folks how they can find you and your great work.
Oh, Lord. Eagle fans know where to find me. JAKIB Sports Report. Mark Holmes, okay? On Twitter, on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. It's JAKIB Sports Report.
You know what's funny? Eagle fans actually in here think that Paris Campbell's a better player than Brandon Cooks.
Okay.
I mean,
cocaine.
They really think that Paris Campbell's better than Brandon Cooks. He's not.
Well,
he's a dude. You remember they're even talking about going out and looking for another guy out of the building.
Remember, Philly 500 thought that you guys have a better secondary than we do.
They don't.
Okay, so there you have it. King Dingbat right there for you, as delusional as can be.
Mark, I appreciate it, brother, man. We'll be checking out. Well, hey, we'll follow up after the program with you. Thank you, brother.
All right, peace out, man.
You got it, man. That's our good friend there, Mark Holmes, who checks in with us weekly and talks a little Cowboys. You guys just don't get it, man. The Dallas Cowboys are your top opponent. Those are the people you have to beat to win the NFC East. If you don't beat the Cowboys, you do not move on. And if you do move on, you get murdered by the Buccaneers. The Sills delusion on this one was real. What? That Dak Prescott's a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts passing the ball? He is. Did you not see last year too? It's what do you mean delusional? Paris Campbell's better than Brandon Cooks is stupid. Are you crazy? Paris Campbell's a nobody. He was benched in New York. New York got rid of him. Not that New York makes the right moves. Okay, but Sills, if CD goes down, with Dallas has a deep dude outside of Devontae Smith. And by the way, when you lose one of those guys, your team does not look the same when one of them are out. Do you think you're going to have 3 years in a row where both players are going to play 17 games? No way. No way. No way. You better have some depth there. I heard John McMullen on Birds 365 this morning even saying that they're top heavy. And that maybe the guy's not even in the building that they have. That's John, who was out there and is out there covering the team, saying that. Okay? We didn't say that. We said if you take Lamb and Cook, who do they have? Okay, Lamb, you have Dak. He's a better passer. He's not going to fall to shit like Jalen did in that Tampa Bay game, where he couldn't score more than 9 points. Not that Dak played better in the Green Bay game. Dude, you're high and delusional if you think that Prescott is not a better passer than Jalen Hurts. You're high. This guy's thrown 60 TD passes in the last 3 years. That's the lowest number of any of the top flight quarterbacks in the league. This guy's not a pocket guy. And you have to win Super Bowls from the pocket. And that's what they've done with Kellen Moore. They're trying to, hey, do you think it's by coincidence that Kellen Moore is trying to make Jalen more of a pocket passer this year than any time since he's been in the building? Why would they do that and not just sign an RPO guy? Because they think he has the skill set to be a better passer, right? And to get up to par with the rest of those guys. That's why Moore's been hired. He's not been hired to put RPOs in. Actually, I think the RPOs are not coming back ever. Cowboys. What? Hey, Stevens, I said the Cowboys are going to win 5 games this year. I never said the Cowboys were a playoff team. And I've held that. Not true. My pick is the Commanders. I'm picking the Washington Commanders to win the East. I'm not the only one. We the people demand 500. Or Xander. We the people. Maybe. Xander will be with us at the bottom of the hour. Don't worry. He'll have the green pom-poms on for you. Just like everybody else. You see, Sills is here with truth, justice, and the Big Sills way. Because that's how we work here. And by the way, when people disagree, unlike WIP or the Fanatic, we don't put people that come on here and brown nose and kiss ass the Big Sills. You're a bum, Sills. No. Truth, justice, and the Big Sills way. That's what we do here, my friends. Sills, please stop doing that. That wasn't your question. You mentioned that without AJ or Smitty, we are left without a wideout that can go for any team. But Hurts is the worst of the quarterbacks. Jalen can't sustain losing players. I think Dak can. Dak didn't have Amari Cooper last year. He had one wide receiver and a pretty decent, not great running back. And he led the NFL in TD passes. And he was second in the MVP voting. I don't know. You're not under some illusion that Dak had as much talent as Jalen did last year. According to you, no. He had a better year. He won the East, led the league in TD passes, threw for 4,600 yards, and won more games. How did he not have a better year? What did he do better? He had more turnovers, less touchdowns, less passing yards, less wins, didn't win the East. I'm still trying to figure this one out. What's your metric? No. Prince, I'll give it to you. What did he do better last year? Prince, what did Jalen Hurts do better than Dak Prescott last year? Name me one thing and I'll go, you're right. Man, you got me. Name me one thing. I'm not a Cowboy fan. Sills hopes for injuries? He won more games. He didn't win. Prescott won more games. He didn't win more games. Not true. Try again. Try again. Come on, Prince. He didn't win more games. You won big games? What? Like Seattle? Come on, Prince. You lose this one, son. You lose this one. All good. By the way, I don't want to sit on here crowing about the Dallas Cowboys, who I think are going to win 5 ball games. Okay? Well, we won the Kansas City game, and yeah, then he destroyed you in Dallas. Come on, man. Destroyed. Jalen Hurts made it to the playoffs with Jalen Reagor and Queasy Watkins. And also Devontae Smith. Don't forget to add that one. And then they were destroyed. Well, it was Tom Brady, so, you know. Okay, let's see. Sills, you know, you sleep in a Hurts' jersey? Do me a favor, please, guys. Hit the like button. Hey, man, I appreciate it. Xander Krause, don't worry. Xander's going to come in, and I'm sure he's going to sit there and make you all feel better about yourselves, telling you how great everything is, and, you know, Kobe's going to be all pro and shit like that. I'm sure of it. Kidding. He's not going to say that. Hit the like button. Xander at the bottom of the hour. Keep it here. Could get a little heated. After that, hey, dude, I don't care what you think. That guy has a lot to learn this year with Kellen Moore's offense. I think they've done a nice job. I gave you my synopsis so far already. All good. Hit the like button. Keep it here. National Football Show.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood days.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
They're carving them up and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Win and save this baseball season from Colony Pools and Power Washing, a local company serving Delaware, Delco, and Chester County since 1970. Are you tired of looking at your green house? Is your roof, siding, deck stained green from algae and mold? Let the experts pressure wash your home and take the pressure off of you. Win with Colony Pools and Power Washing. Call them now at 302-762-2250. That's 302-762-2250.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Big Sales National Football Show. Please hit the like button. You guys have been great. We're a couple away from 200. Trying to get to 300. We possibly could get to maybe 400 today. Hey, by the way, we're having a sports conversation. Don't get your panties in a bind. Relax. We may have differences of opinion here sometimes. But Big Sills runs this thing. I have for 40 years. That's how we do it. And sometimes you may not like what you hear. Well, I don't know what to tell you, kid. Okay? Hey, Joshua, I said the Dallas Cowboys will win 5 games this year. 5 football games. I do not believe that team's going to be that good. I have not wavered off that, have I? I have not wavered off that team will probably win 5 football games. I want to see it. Just like with the Eagle defense, I want to see it. Now here, want to get back to one thing that I got talking to Clint Hurd about your guy, Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter, Clint goes, do you really see Jerome? And I said, yes. I do not give that compliment out that much. I don't think I've ever said that. Someone asked me, do you think Warren Sapp is as good as Jerome Brown? And I said, no. He's not. Do I think Jalen Carter could be better than Jerome, which means he would be better than Fletcher Cox? I say yes. I mean, what he's doing in camp, you know what? Let me tell you what Clint Hurts said about him in his footwork. He's so massively strong in his shoulders and the way that he gets his hands inside. Whoever taught him in fundamentals well on his positioning. And again, here's going to be something again about his gas can. How long will his gas can go? These guys have to get in rep shape, which means you just need to get out there. I don't know how much they're going to work when it comes to exhibition season. You know, the Eagles are a team that doesn't really like to put their frontline guys in exhibition games. I think they like to really use more so than anything those controlled scrimmages. But I would like to see those guys get as many reps as they possibly can in a controlled environment. I'm not trying to beat them up early on in the year. I'm talking Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter. But what I am saying is I would like to see. Prince, let me ask you something. How would you prepare? How would you prepare Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis for the upcoming season? Says, what did Jerome Brown play like? Tasmanian Devil. The problem that you had with Jerome, Kyle, he would take plays off sometimes, and it would aggravate you. He would take plays off, but then he'd come back and the next 6 plays, I can't tell you how insane it was. We played West Virginia one year, and it must have been we crushed them. We scored 28 points in the first 8 minutes of the game. We annihilated them. And in the first 9 plays of the game, Jerome had 3 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, and a fumble recovery. He ate the whole fucking team up. And you watch that and you go, God forbid. It was just controlled chaos. He was such a dominant football player. And you marveled at it, and I wanted to be like that and play like that. But sometimes he would shut it down. And when I see, Reggie was just different. It's just like LT. There's those two and then everyone else. Okay? It's Lawrence Taylor and Reggie and then everybody that's ever played defense. That's how far the distance is between those two. I mean, like I said, whoever you want, I'll take. You want LT, I'll take Reggie. And I'll be just as happy. Okay? I'll be just as happy. And I see a lot of the characteristics in Jalen. Clint goes like this. His footwork is sensational. You know what he said, too? Jordan Davis might have just as good a feet, which is kind of insane to think that he could possibly have that good of feet. Please hit the like button. Guys are killing it again, man. Halfway through the program, we're over almost at 210 likes. Thank you guys so much, man. Hey, did you actually think for 4 hours I wasn't going to say something you didn't like? What do you think this is? The Yes Show? Did you think this was the Yes Show? You know how many shows are out there that are the Yes Show? Hold on for a second. All right. All right here. Are you guys ready? So I'll tell you what, without further ado, I'm going to bring in the guy who's ready, and he's ready to get into the ring with Big Sills. Ladies and gentlemen, the current middleweight champion of the world who hosts and co-hosts Birds 365, it is, without further ado, Xander Kraus.
What's up, Big Sills?
Hey, man, what didn't you like that I said?
You said a lot of really dumb stuff in that segment with Mark Holmes, my friend.
One thing off the top.
First thing off the top, we'll get into the passer comments, which are just stupid in their own right. Secondly,
you have no proof.
You have to beat the Cowboys.
You have nothing to back up the fact that
no, stop. You have to beat the Cowboys. Dan, we've been to the Super Bowl 2 times in the last 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
Both of those years, we were 1-1 versus the Dallas Cowboys.
You have to win your division first.
You don't have to win your division to get to the Super Bowl.
You've never gone to the Super Bowl without winning your division.
Okay, you can go 1-1. You're saying I have to sit here and beat the Cowboys. No, I don't. That's not how you quantify a winning
beating the
season.
Cowboys. You have to be able to beat that team because that's the team you have to first. Xander, when you build a team, you're not building it to beat the Niners. You're building it to beat the teams in the NFC East because that's your first and foremost thing you have to do is win the East.
So you're projecting the Cowboys win 5 games.
You may never play them until you get to the conference title game, but you're going to play the Cowboys twice.
Dan, get into the dance. I don't give a shit who you beat or what you do to the Dallas Cowboys. That's the same mentality That's the same mentality the Dallas Cowboys have had for the last 30 years, and that's why they don't have anything to show for it. What's that?
Got to beat your division opponents before you can do anything when it comes to the playoffs.
Get into the dance, dude. I don't know what you're talking about.
You getting into the dance has never resulted in you getting to the Super Bowl.
Twice. I play them twice.
Never went to the Super Bowl not winning your division.
Okay, what's your point?
Just getting to the dance doesn't get you there.
That's not true. If you get into the playoffs,
you've never done it in the 60 years of football since the Super Bowl era.
And the Cowboys haven't won jock shit in 30 years. You keep telling me how great Dak Prescott's record is.
You're talking to me about something you've never done.
No, because you're telling me I have to beat the Cowboys. Ask the Cowboys how they feel. You're right. They've beaten the Eagles a lot with Dak Prescott. What has that gotten them? What have the Dallas Cowboys gotten out of beating the Philadelphia Eagles more times than not?
You've never gone to an NFC championship game.
Okay, so you're
without
assuming
winning
that we
your
can't
division.
do something you haven't done before, which is just not true at all.
That's right. Hey, let's just hope that one day we get there, and that if we don't win the division, maybe we'll get to a Super Bowl from a wild card spot. Okay.
Last I checked, beating the Dallas Cowboys doesn't raise a banner.
I'm talking about the Eagles. And I'm saying that you have never done any of that in your history, but now you all of a sudden you don't have to win your division, or you don't have to beat your division.
I didn't say you don't even need to beat the Cowboys twice to win your division. You can win the division. You could lose both games to the Cowboys and win the division. This is a team that you're projecting is going to win 5 games. By the way, the Cowboys are going to be better than a 5-win team, but it doesn't matter. They could win. Let's say they do win 5 games and they beat the Eagles twice. We can still win the division.
Okay. Yeah.
Regular season wins versus the Dallas Cowboys are as good as a regular season loss to the Arizona Cardinals.
You have nothing to stand on with facts on that. Nothing.
I don't think you have any facts either.
I do too. You've never gone to an NFC title game from a wild card. You've never gone to a Super Bowl from a wild card. You have to win your division.
You don't have to. You are saying
you've never done it.
Okay. What is it impossible to do it?
You've never done it.
What am I missing? You're just saying we've never done it.
What are you missing? You've never done something that you're saying that you can do. You have never gone you have never gone anywhere not winning your division. Do you know the Eagles have never gone to the Super Bowl without having home field advantage either?
Okay, so do you need to beat the Dallas Cowboys twice to win your division?
I think you have to at least split.
Okay, split. Great. We've split every year for the last how many years?
That's beating Dallas.
Okay, one time. I'm not worried about beating Dallas is my point. Our sights are set on way bigger things than a dumb regular season victory over the Dallas Cowboys in Jerry's world. I could give a shit.
You got to win. You first have to take care of business in your division. When you draft, when you sign free agents, it's about winning your division first so you get a home field game at minimum, potentially a bye.
Okay, great. You're talking about I'm talking about beating the Dallas Cowboys.
Right.
You don't need to beat the Dallas Cowboys.
You can't go 0-2. You won't win your division if you go 0-2 versus Dallas.
Why?
Because you never have.
Okay, you're conflating multiple things.
No, I'm not. I'm telling you what you've done in your careers.
Okay, you can lose to the Dallas Cowboys and still win the NFC East.
So you think you can go 0-2 and win the NFC East?
Sure, if you win the other 4 games versus the NFC opponents.
What was the other? Okay, well, I'm not going to. Okay, what was the other thing you did?
You have 2 games versus the Giants and 2 games versus the Commanders. You also have 12 other games to play in the NFL. This isn't just a season where you play the Cowboys a bunch of times.
I'm not debating this. How about this? What's the other thing you thought was you didn't like?
You're hell-bent on the passer stats. I don't give a shit.
Because the passer stat in the criteria to winning Super Bowls is not a dual threat guy.
Okay, ask Dan Marino what he thinks about that. Ask our friend of the show, Warren Moon, one of the greatest passers of the football.
That has done that.
I'm saying those guys haven't won Super Bowls, and they're the greatest throwers of the football the league has ever seen.
But those are the guys that are in the Super Bowl every year.
There's a lot more to the game.
But those are the guys that are in the Super Bowl every year.
Okay, the Eagles.
That criteria is in the Super Bowl every year.
The Eagles
not a guy who has
ago.
900 yards rush. No, there's no sample size to that.
The Eagles were in the Super Bowl 2 years ago.
Nobody has ever won the Super Bowl with that criteria.
Okay, we came in between within a play of winning the Super Bowl, and now you're telling me that we can't.
Nobody has won the Super Bowl since 1966 with that criteria.
That's not true.
Who has? Hey,
it's also a way different game now.
Is the most with 6 rushing touchdowns. Nobody has won.
Dan, look at the top 900 yards in the league now of what they were 20, 30 years ago. You're comparing different eras of football.
Really? Who were the quarterbacks that were in the Super Bowl this last year? Were they dual threat or were they drop back?
Well, they're drop back. Who was in it the year before?
Okay. Okay, let's do this. That's a good point. You want to go back to the Super Bowl the last 15 years, and I'll show you one guy, Hurts.
Okay, great. And he was within a play of winning the Super Bowl.
Oof.
Wait. Back to the point, though. Dak Prescott's a better passer. How many Super Bowl appearances does that jerk off have? 0.
I didn't say that. I said that's the criteria that you build team. Do you think there's any coincidence that every single guy in the league right now, when they're looking at the top guys in the league, Hurts ain't in one of the top guys because they don't look at him as the guy that's going to lead a team to a Super Bowl because he doesn't fit the Super Bowl criteria. And here it is, 4,200 passing yards, 30 touchdowns, about 150 yards rushing. Those are the guys that consist. It is true.
So the players in the NFL that
you're trying to make an argument for something that doesn't exist.
The players who line up across Jalen Hurts right now in the NFL say he's a better football player than Dak Prescott, and you want to say no because Dak can fit the ball in the window a little bit better.
What did he do last year better than Dak?
I think he did plenty better in the last couple of years. What? He's a winner.
He didn't win more games. They won the East. He led the NFL in passing yards. He had 9 picks, and he was second in the MVP voting. What did he do better than Dak Prescott a year ago? He didn't win
more.
The
year before that, what did Dak do better than Jalen?
Okay. In the career, when it comes to how he throws the ball, and plus versus what did he do? I mean,
you're missing my point.
No, you're missing the point that you think Dak Prescott is a lesser quarterback than Jalen when that guy's got every single talented guy around him and he's got one wide out.
Okay, great. And what's that done for him? And what does Dak Prescott have to show for that? Show for that. What does Dak have to show for it? Hurts at least has won the NFC. At least. Dak Prescott barely got a playoff win. My point is there's a lot more to this game than being a good passer. Dak Prescott's a great passer. Cool.
Then how come the great passers are the ones that are being paid the most?
Okay.
Like you just gave Trevor Lawrence $55 million. I wouldn't consider him a scooter. You just gave Jared Goff $53 million. I wouldn't consider him a guy who's going to get out there on a scooter. You just gave a guy in Justin Herbert $54 million. I wouldn't think that guy's out on a scooter.
Dan,
I mean, come on, dog.
You are leaving out so much context. It is out. It is unbelievable how much context.
I'm totally right. Here, let's do this. Let's take
Lamar
a look at
Jackson's making $52 million a year. Jalen Hurts is making $51 million a year. Kyler Murray's making $46 million a year. Deshaun Watson's making $46 million a year. Josh Allen
he's not
a dual threat guy. $43 million a year. What are you
talking about? Deshaun Watson is not a dual threat guy.
Deshaun Watson uses his legs. Yes, he does.
He's most he's ever rushed.
I watched him win a national championship with his legs. He is. He's a good thrower, but what does that get you?
Let's take a look at I completely, once again, 1,000% disagree with this thing. Let's take a look at this. 2 drop-back quarterbacks last year, Mahomes and Purdy. You had 1 dual threat guy and a drop-back guy the year before. The year before that, you had 2 drop-back guys in Burrow and Stafford. The year before that, you had 2 drop-back guys in Mahomes and Brady. The year before that, you had a drop-back guy in Mahomes, and you had a drop-back guy in Garoppolo. Year before that, you had a drop-back guy, and you had Stafford, another drop-back, or Goff, another drop-back guy. Year before that, you had Brady, and you had Matt Ryan, another 2 drop-back guys. I could go on and on with this.
Okay, great. And you're moving further away from the era of football that we're in right now.
Actually, there's only one guy in the last 6 years that fits that criteria.
There are more starting quarterbacks in the NFL right now that have that dual threat pedigree than there ever has been in the history of the league. 100%.
Jalen Hurts beats teams over 500 last year. Dak didn't beat Buffalo, KC, Miami. Nobody beat the tar out of you. Okay.
Okay. Great.
What else did you have a problem with?
Let me go by the regular. Oh wait, where's your little thing? This is mine. This is what I'll give Dak Prescott. This is a little cup phone from WeatherTech. This is the trophy I'll give Dak Prescott.
You're not paid on going to the NFL. No, your guy's the only quarterback ever to get paid going to a Super Bowl. The rest of these guys get paid on what they do in the regular season. Trevor Lawrence ain't getting paid on what he did being 0-1 in the playoffs.
What about Kyler Murray?
What about
Lamar
Murray?
What about Lamar Jackson? What about Lamar Jackson?
He beat the Rams.
What about Lamar Jackson?
The 49ers, and they won 11 ball games.
What about Lamar Jackson?
Lamar Jackson has never been paid for the postseason.
That's my point.
No. You're not paid for the postseason, but yet you bring that up for Dak's going to make $60 million.
Okay, and
your guy's the only guy that gets paid for the postseason because his stats are very mediocre to below average.
38 touchdowns last year, dude. What are you
28?
38.
Oh my God, I forgot the running stuff, which doesn't matter.
So you're telling me don't pay him off the regular season, but he had 38 touchdowns in the regular season.
Doesn't matter.
That's your opinion.
You're damn right. You're damn right, because the quarterbacks who spread the ball around and win from the pocket are the guys who are going to win the Super Bowls.
Okay, wait a second. Let's go back to
I completely disagree with this conversation. And I've been that way for 3 years on Hurts. You're never going to win with a dual threat guy. Just you believe the other way. We'll see it.
Jalen Hurts in the Super Bowl. Let's go back to the Super Bowl. Where
Holy
it really
cow.
counts.
Here we go 2 years ago.
Patrick Mahomes threw for 182 yards.
How about going to the last playoff game he played?
304 yards. You know what?
How about going to the last playoff game he played? That's recent history.
Okay, and we lost. Go back to Dak Prescott's recent playoff game. He got obliterated by a first-year starter in Jordan Love.
So what's the point you're making?
I'm saying that there's so much more context that you are leaving out. Winning in football, going deep into the playoffs is not about how good of a passer you are.
Okay.
Like I said, go ask Warren Moon. Go ask Jim Kelly. Go ask Dan Marino.
You're missing what I'm saying about the criteria.
No, you are happy.
The criteria is Jim Kelly.
You're saying that Dak Prescott's better than Jalen Hurts because he can pass.
I'm saying he's a better passer than Hurts by far.
Okay, so you take your better passer. I'll take the guy that continues to win playoff games and has a better playoff record in 3 years than Dak has in 9 years.
You hang with him, and you'll keep getting your 23 touchdowns, and you'll keep winning some really decent games. You'll never win a Super Bowl with that style of play.
You say all this stuff about Jalen Hurts.
You'll never win with that style of play.
You've now appointed Dak Prescott this unbelievable passer.
No,
I have not. Number one offense in the NFL.
I said he's better.
What did he do with the number one offense in the NFL?
What have you done with all that shit last year? Dan, what did you do with it?
This is not quantified.
What's the money you paid last year for all that stuff? $170 million for a huddle. And you know what you did? You got blown out by a team who could score more than 10 points against the Bucs. What are you paying for?
I'm paying for the guy that led us to a Super Bowl.
Okay.
Within a hair length of winning the Super Bowl, threw up 300-plus yards, and had a near-perfect passer rating in the Super Bowl. You are leaving out every piece of context that doesn't fit your narrative.
The context is he lost.
And Dak Prescott does the same thing every single year.
I can't. You're moving the chain.
Death, taxes, and the Cowboys losing in the playoffs. Are we talking about Hurts?
Or are you go back? The only game the only game you can go back to is that Super Bowl game that he lost.
Hurts has 3 years of starting. Dak has 9.
And in those 9 years, he's never even remotely touched what Dak has done in the pocket. Nothing.
Okay. So you take your pocket and you enjoy your pocket.
You take your total offense guy, and we'll see where you are at the end of this year.
Who has more meaningful success in the NFL? Jalen Hurts or Dak Prescott?
We'll see who
has more meaningful success in the NFL.
We shall see where you are at the end of this year.
Answer the question, Dan. Who
you
has
got people
more
saying
meaningful
he can't
success?
read defenses. Okay?
Holy moly.
Really. Greg Cosell says he struggles reading defenses.
Okay, so I'll take the guy that struggled reading defenses, but led me to the damn Super Bowl over the dude that you think is the greatest passer in the world.
Let me get this right. So he's in Jimmy Garoppolo, and he's in Jake Delhomme's league. Those guys led teams to Super Bowls too.
This is a joke.
How about this? Wait, Colin Kaepernick led a team to a Super Bowl. So is he great too?
I think he's better than Dak. He's more success in the league than Dak has.
Where is he now?
Dak Prescott, he's Sam Bradford to me.
Jalen Hurts is the better version of
you have a good arm. You have a great arm. You can throw it good.
Hey,
cool.
Jalen Hurts is a better version of Tyrod Taylor to me.
Oh yeah, Tyrod Taylor led his team to a Super Bowl, right? That must have slipped my memory when he did that.
Let me. Okay, well, let me give you one of those guys that will fit the bill here for him. Kaepernick, yeah, he's Kaepernick. That's who Hurts is. He's Kaepernick.
You're not even making sense, brother. And normally you do make sense because you're talking yourself.
Because you don't like what you're hearing? That's too bad. I don't really care.
I'm fine with dissenting viewpoints on what I have. But you're not making sense.
Xander, sense is, I'm telling you that guy is not a better pocket passer than Hurts. And that's the criteria that these quarterbacks and teams are made on. That's why you draft them.
Okay, so is that what you want to win? You want to win the trophy for whoever has the best passing quarterback in the league? Is that what you're trying to win? Because I'm trying to win a Super Bowl.
Hey, let me know when you're done on this, because I would like to get to something else here.
Okay, I'm trying to win a Super Bowl. You can take your passing trophies. They don't get me anything.
Okay.
Just like they haven't gotten Dak anything in 9 years in the NFL with the number 1 ranked offense twice. Doesn't get you anything. There's a lot more to the game than that.
We'll see what he does this year.
We will see.
Oh, yeah, because I saw what he did a year ago with the same talent pretty much. Oh, yeah, I forgot. It's the coordinators. But now he's got Dak Prescott's coordinator. Okay. So it was Dak's fault in Dallas, not Kellen's fault for all those failures in the postseason. It was Dak's fault. Well, we'll find out if this is really what it is. It's either going to be Kellen's going to help him and get Jalen to a Super Bowl, or Kellen sucks as a coordinator.
Right. It's good to know that your barometer for success and how to quantify
it's by the quarterback's success.
No, it's not. It's by how good of a passer they are. And that's not how you can quantify success, especially in the modern NFL.
That's how you're paid.
What do you mean? Jalen's making
like you said, $52 million. Kyler Murray, what's he done in the postseason? He got $47 million.
What's Jalen Hurts done in the postseason? He's got 52.
Nothing. He's 2-3. He's won an NFC. Got to hand that to him.
Okay.
But the rest of the guy,
he went to the Super Bowl. What has
Trevor
Dak
Lawrence is
Prescott
0-1.
done?
Trevor Lawrence is 0-1 and makes more.
Dak Prescott has done 0 in the playoffs in his career. 0.
And he's going to make $60 million based on what he does against the Eagles.
Okay, great. Pay him it. Sure. That doesn't mean you're going to win a Super Bowl. That doesn't mean you're a better
your guy
player.
Is either. That's the point. Doesn't mean your guy is either.
At least my guy's been there in 3 years starting. Dak Prescott's taken
Jalen
9,
Kaepernick.
and he still hasn't even gotten close.
He hasn't even
sniffed getting out of the second round. He won a wild card game, I think, once or twice. Congratulations, Dak.
Jalen Kaepernick. That's my new name.
Very fitting for the Cowboys to parade around a
Jalen Kaepernick. All right.
One Super Bowl appearance in 3 years is worse than 0 in 9. Okay. So
last year he sucked.
Okay, great. 6 games. Let me quantify an entire career and an entire player.
18 turnovers
on 6 games.
18 turnovers.
What a joke.
All right. What? You're saying that's not true either?
I didn't say that wasn't true. I said you're not going to quantify a quarterback based on 6 bad games where the entire team looked like dog shit.
Okay. All right.
Nobody bashed Hurts for that end of the year more than me. I ripped Jalen Hurts for the end of the last year. I ripped him for it. But I'm not going to forget the context that he took us to the Super Bowl, that I watched him with my own 2 eyes march down the field and destroy the Kansas City defense over and over again. He made one mistake in the entire ball game and it cost us the game. One mistake. Other than that, he was perfect that day throwing the ball. Perfect.
Besides dropping it on the carpet, too.
That's what I said. He made one mistake in the game.
And let me say something about getting teams to Super Bowls and winning it. You had a guy in the building winning a Super Bowl too, Foles. Dumped him. I mean,
yeah, and how'd that work out?
The guy being consistent is a guy that's going to think that you're going to be able to win on a consistent basis, game in and game out, and week in and week out. You didn't believe in Foles to do that because you had Wentz. Well, Wentz was more of the guy.
Yeah,
the organization went like this. We don't believe Nick Foles can win on a week-to-week basis over Wentz.
Last time the Eagles chose the passing talent over the winner, they got rid of him a year later and drafted Jalen Hurts to replace him. They made that mistake already. They took the $38 million cap hit to move on from that guy. Okay. I bet you if they're thinking back on it, they wish they did keep Foles for another year. Because, by the way, the next year he led us right back to the playoffs. And if it wasn't for a double doink, we would have been in the NFC title game again.
I'm going to stay consistent with how I look at your guy. Okay? And I'm going to be there like I have been for 3 years.
You justified my point with that last comment.
Yeah.
Nick Foles is not the most talented quarterback in the league. Nick Foles is not the best passer in the league. It takes a lot more than that to win.
If you didn't have a passer, you're not beating Brady.
That's fair. But that was the nature of that game. Would you make that comment about the loss we had to the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl 2 years ago?
I would say this to you that
Hurts nearly doubled.
I thought the Eagles nutted up on both sides of the ball in the fourth quarter. You had defensive secondary guys running in on one another when you had a coordinator and Reed doing crossing routes. And on the other side of the ball, you got conservative. Late in the game, do you understand that Patrick Mahomes was down 10 points in both Super Bowls and came back to win them? Yeah, by the way, came back to win them because he throws the ball.
And largely aided by the fumble, which I've knocked Jalen Hurts for because I'm not omitting context. But I did see him throw the ball all over the yard that day when he needed to, when the lights were the brightest. Something I've yet to see Dak Prescott do. Back to the original point, you parading around how good of a passer Dak is with zero success to show for it. I don't care. He's a good passer. It doesn't move the needle for me. You're right. Hurts had a bad year last year. It sucks. Let's move on. But at least I've seen success. At least he's took me to the Super Bowl. At least he threw 300+ yards in the lights.
I think that taking once again, Xander, you're looking at him taking it's an accomplishment. But I can name you stiffs that took teams to his Super Bowls. I can name you big stiffs, absolute stiffs.
Okay, and
it's a team accomplishment getting a team to the Super Bowl. It's not an individual accomplishment.
And I can name you great passers that have never won shit in this league.
That's why they get paid and who they are. Dan Marino, 7-9 in the postseason. However, the reason you build a team around that is because that's the criteria that helps you get there and stay in the room with AFC title games. Okay, when you say Kelly didn't win a Super, he got there 4 times. That's the criteria. It's still the criteria. Hurts in the last 10 years is the only one that's in that room next to Kaepernick. It's Kaepernick and him.
We'll see how
those are your 2 sample sizes.
It's a different NFL now. We'll see how the next 10 years goes.
3 years ago, it was Burrow and Mahomes.
Yeah, it's
4 years ago, 3 years ago, excuse me, it was Brady and Stafford. 2 years ago, it was Burrow and Mahomes. That hasn't changed.
I know, but it's a different league now. It's a different league now, Sills. There's different
2 years. Okay, then it's a different league for Hurts too, then, right? So you're saying that more people are going to draft dual threat guys, and they're not going to be looking for the drop back guy, even though Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams are drop back dudes.
Jaden Daniels is not a drop back dude.
Okay. How many yards did he have rushing? Like he threw for 6,000
yards. Of the football. He's a good thrower of the football, but to say he's a drop back quarterback,
you think Caleb Williams is a runner?
Caleb Williams is more of a drop back quarterback, but he also has a dual threat skill set.
Jalen Daniels 2023 stats at LSU. I actually don't know that because he threw for 38-14.
There's a lot more context, is my point, that goes into this. A lot more. And for you to
but you're making it sound like it's all on your side, and it's not.
No, I'm saying that just because you're a good passer doesn't mean shit. Just like Jalen Hurts is dual threat, that doesn't really mean shit either. Winning games when the lights are brightest is what it means. I've seen it from Hurts. I've never seen it from Dak. The case is closed. He's Sam Bradford.
Sam Bradford?
Yes, that's what he is to me.
Okay. Well, in my opinion, he's a blown-up version of Tyrod Taylor.
That's how I look at Hurts. Sam Bradford never won shit. Dak Prescott never won shit.
That's how I look at him.
Tyrod Taylor never won shit. Jalen Hurts has won shit.
I always look at him that way. Trying to figure out rushing here.
Talk to me when Tyrod Taylor makes a Super Bowl and throws for 300+ yards and a near perfect.
Oh, here, let me just get Kaepernick out. Jalen Kaepernick. That's what I'll say. Jalen Kaepernick. Let's see what he had.
I understand your point, but I think you're leaving out too much context.
Let's get to some good stuff here.
Good. Hit me with it.
This is the first week of my observations talking to some of the guys around there. And this goes with, let's start with Hurts. Last 2 days, obviously, I think that there's been an issue because of the influx of the offensive line. There's been guys like Landon and Landon Dickerson, Lane, and also Steen being out. I don't think that they were as consistent the last 2 days, but the one thing is definite is that they are trying to spread the ball around, and there is no question that they want him to be a progression reader and having more options than he's had in the last 3 years. Is that your takeaway on this?
What?
is that they're trying to give him more options. Okay? They're trying to give him more options.
UPN focused and get the fuck out of here. Nobody's asking you to be here. Nobody's begging for your viewership. Thanks for the $5. Move the fuck on, my dude. By the way, we missed Shonsky. Let me go to him. Dak had Cooper, Lamb, and Gallup along with Zeke in his prime and lost first game in the playoff. He's had weapons. Yeah, it's a good point. Prince Swayze checks in. This segment's great. Next round. I just want to hit these super chats. Right day Foles was RPO QB and changed offense for him. Nice. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate the super chats.
Do you agree on Hurts?
What, that they're trying to make him
trying to have more options?
I think they're trying to add to his game. I think they're trying to bring up the other parts of his game where he's not polished yet. And that's what I think Kellen Moore is going to bring. He's certainly going to have to spread the ball around a little bit more this year. He's got the talent. They got the I think the offensive coordinator to work that part of his game up a little bit better. I mean, remember, Shane Steichen was great for Jalen Hurts, but Shane Steichen also didn't push Jalen Hurts to get out of his comfort zone. He kept, you talk about the problems, your problems with Jalen Hurts as more of a dual threat guy. Shane Steichen kept him in that role. Shane never wanted him to be bigger than he was. And in a way that was great, but there's limitations to that. Kellen's going to rip that Band-Aid off and force him to be better. And I think that's a good thing for Hurts.
Hey, Prince, you're right. I didn't realize that he rushed the ball that much. So Daniels did run the ball a lot when he was at LSU last year. So you're right on that one. Let's go to Barkley here. There's no question they want him on the field. Pass protection, pass options, passing game. I'm starting to think that they're starting to define his role, at least in the first week, Xander. You're starting to see that he's going to be a guy that, to me, like I said, he's going to be around that 950 mark, 500 receiving, 15 total touchdowns, but he's going to give you about 100 yards in total offense every game. You get somebody like that on the football field when you've got two wide receivers like you do and a tight end that could get you 60 yards, you're going to be almost unbelievably difficult to defend.
You talking about Saquon, or did you say Dallas Goedert?
I'm talking about Barkley.
Yeah, Saquon should be big. I mean, I think he's going to have a big year. I made a bet, and for everybody, I want everybody to hear this. This morning on Birds 365, we made a pledge to the people. So every time Saquon Barkley eclipses 125 all-purpose yards in a game, we're going to give away a Saquon Barkley jersey to a member on the channel. So it's more because John is not high on Saquon Barkley. So that's how it evolved and how it came to be. So, if he does that, Dan, he's going to have over 2,000 all-purpose yards. We'll see what he's able to do. I'm not as high. I mean, I just don't think the Eagles are going to use him like I think people think they're going to use him. But he is running behind a way better offensive line than he had in New York. He's got way more weapons, so teams don't have to isolate and focus on him. I think he's going to have a good year. We'll see how good, though, and how much they use him. But 125 plus yards, we're giving out Saquon jerseys like candy, baby.
Hey, Damon, you're missing the point. 950 yards at 6 yards a carry, and you're also getting another 30 receiving. You're talking about a guy with 120 yards in total offense. That's how I think they're going to utilize him, like they did Tony Pollard in Dallas, because that's what he did. By the way, my aunt watches the show, and I just saw something. Betty, Big Sills never gets offended. It's a great segment. I don't like pussies, so don't worry, honey. We're okay. Everything's fine. Are you crazy?
Is Betty in here? Is she in the chat?
I'm not going to tell you who. I think you can. Hey, wait a minute. I'm going to tell you. Hold on. Hey, wait a minute. I'm going to tell you. Bet, it's all good.
Sorry, Aunt Betty. I had to rip Sills because he talked the shit on my quarterback.
There.
Don't worry, Aunt Betty.
There you go.
Don't worry, Aunt Betty. I
just told you who it is.
Yeah, I got you.
All right. Let's go to the O-line. You ready?
I'm ready.
Landon, Lane, Steen, all nicked up. Here's something that I'm a little concerned about. So you go out and you make a move on the open market, Xander, and you bring a guy in. Are you not happy with the people you have on the roster right now? I mean, now look, it's July 31st. I'm not going psycho here on it. But, I mean, where's Trevor Keegan? Where's some of the other guys? Are you not, there's no Jack Driscoll on this team now. I see Driscoll got hurt in Tampa, though, by the way, the other day.
Yeah.
So are you concerned about this?
Yeah, it's definitely something we're not really used to in Philly. I mean, we've had a good offensive line for a lot of years now. I think we've been top 10 for the last 12 years in running. So I'm not really, I mean, John made up a good point about this where, what does this tell you that they've signed another guy? Does it tell you they don't like the guys they signed and Max Sharping and Matt Hennessy? Is the Landon Dickerson injury a bigger thing than they're leading on for you to believe? Do they not like what they're seeing from Tyler? I don't know.
They might want to get head of the stick, Xander, on this because, I mean, I think it's all of it. I think it's all of it.
They don't have a shortage of bodies, those Sills. That's what I was confused about. Like, they have pretty good bodies in there now, and they're acting like, the Dickerson injury is not much. Maybe it is. Maybe there is some. Maybe they do think it's a little bit deeper, and that's why they're adding guys to the room. But it's definitely a little concerning. And then you're also reading that we had Brandon Lee Gouton on this morning, and then obviously John McMullen, who was on with, every day with Birds 365. These are two guys who were down there at practice every single day, consuming everything, not reading reports, not watching hearsay. They're watching it with their own two eyes. Both of them said the best position group on the team right now is the defensive line because they're terrorizing the practice. I mean, is that a credit to the D-line, which I think it is, or does that show that we have some concerns here with the offensive line? And you don't see that often with our offensive line getting beat like that. Jalen had his worst day of camp, not yesterday, but the day before that. And I talked to John on the phone. He wasn't able to do a show, but I talked to John. He's like, don't make much of it. It's not on Jalen Hurts. He was under, fire all day right away. So he was a lot of, rolling out, getting rid of the football. He didn't really have a chance to go through his progressions. The offensive line was getting torched. Now you are missing those guys. So maybe it's that, but definitely uncharted territory for us in terms of, maybe some shakiness at the offensive line as we go into the year. I'm not sold on this Tyler Steen guy. I'll say that.
It doesn't seem, I remember Barrett, what he said about him.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem to be really durable and really like a tough guy in there. Remember, that was one of his concerns that he had when he was doing shows for us. He was like, I don't know, man. I've seen the guy, and, when you read the reports on him, he's injury prone a little bit too. So,
yeah,
he basically didn't want to call him soft, but he was
like that Wally Pipped right here too, by the way.
So we were like, a little bit. By the way, you're right. JAKIB is not for snowflakes.
No, it's not.
So you better buckle up when you roll in here. By the way, guys, keep hitting the like button. You're killing it. You're almost at 240 right now. We appreciate that very much.
By the way, did you hear John's comments on Bryce Huff?
Yeah, I'm going to get to him in a second here.
Okay.
I'll tell you what. I got this stuff from Clint Hurt. I'll tell you what he said about Milton Williams. Dude, you can drop him in a 3 technique, a 5 technique, a 7 technique, and he's as versatile as it gets. He's having a pretty good camp, man.
Can you explain to me what a 7 technique is?
Wide 7 is out wide of the okay, you have 2 offensive tackles. Okay? And you're outside, that's a 5 technique. When you put them out wide,
you're
putting them out there to make sure that you set the edges. But they rush, and you're forcing those offensive linemen to have to fan block out wide, and you put those guys in wide 7s. Michael Parsons lines up sometimes.
A lot. Yep, gotcha.
So you're lined up way out wide. You're forcing that tackle to have to get out there, and you run a game off that tackle guard stunt, and you bring a linebacker or a free safety or strong safety up that guard center.
Now, is that mostly used on passing downs, I guess? Because you obviously don't. Yeah, you're right. You don't want to create obviously running lanes. So, okay, gotcha.
But that's good to hear. Let me tell you what he said about Jordan Davis.
Well, real quick. Let me just answer on Milton Williams. I do think he's going to be a great player. I think it's weird they haven't gotten the contract done. Maybe it's from the player side where he's like, let me bet on myself here. I know I'm going to have a bigger role. I'll maybe get more money coming out of this year. But I do think he's a great player. He was one of Howie's better picks. I think he was I forget. Was
third rounder.
Third rounder? Yeah. I mean, and there wasn't too much. I think it was Louisiana Tech was he drafted out of?
Yep.
Yeah, and so to see him come on, I think is a very positive thing. He's also really bulked up. You can tell he's more built like an NFL guy. When he came in, he was a little smaller, and he definitely looks the part now. So I'm excited for his role. I think he's going to be a big player on this team, and he's going to have a big role in the rotation. So he's going to have to be good.
Here's what Clint said about Jordan Davis. Talent's there, and what you were saying. Yeah. Get this. Talent's there, feet, physical dominance. He asked me again, my assessment. I go, I think he's probably going to play great in the first 6 games. And then he goes, what's your concern? And I said, how big is his gas can? I mean, how big is that gas can?
And we're not going to learn
gas can going to be empty in week 13, 14? Because I need him from 14 to 17 to win championships. It's one thing, Xander, to have your front 4 guys playing great for the first part of the college season, but I need you in the back end of the football NFL season from week 13 on. That's when you're going to win Super Bowl. So, Mike, the question mark for him is really going to be all about how big is the gas can in the second half.
Yeah, and we're not going to learn that until the games play. Not
until we get in. And you know what? He's going to get out to a great start.
Yeah, and even the other day in practice, there was reports coming in like Jalen Hurts or Jalen Carter or Jordan Davis. Sorry, he blew up the first play of practice, and I was talking about it on the recap, and one dude was like, "First play of practice. I'm not worried about the first play. I'm worried about the 40th play." And I'm like, "Good point." So we're gonna have to see it from him. He's definitely got the talent, those Sills. I understand the knock on him, and I understand the pressure on him. And 13th overall, he's got to produce, and I definitely understand that, but I hope he can get it together with the conditioning because I think he has it inside of him. When you see that guy and you like, I met him in person, I'm like, that's a motherfucker. That's an NFL defensive tackle. And that's how he looks to me. That doesn't mean anything. You obviously have to put it together on the field. Just because you look the part doesn't mean you are the part. And we'll see. I hope he can do it. I think he's going to do it. This is going to be his year, though, to prove it. By the way, in a way, it's a contract year for him. It's not fully, but it kind of is.
This is when they like to get those deals done.
Exactly. Look at Devontae Smith was drafted the year before. After this season, I know they have the 5th-year option, so they could default to that. But if Jordan's good and Howie likes to get those deals done early, I think he's going to go for that contract this year. But Jordan's going to have to prove it in order to get that.
Bryce Huff. It's like he's MIA. I've not heard his name for an entire week. There's not even any splash plays. There's not anything where there's a wow play like a year ago when Reddick, or 2 years ago when Reddick was there. They were like, man, you got to see this guy get around the horn. This guy can pass rush. There's just nothing about him. Now, once again, I'm going to say this. It's July 31st. Am I freaking out? No. If we're talking 3 weeks from now and we still haven't heard shit, there's probably going to be a problem here with this. But what's your takeaway when you hear that, people that are covering this are saying, and, I asked him about Huff. He's like, I know they're situationally, and, Vic's putting him in certain situations. He's not even really getting reps on first and second down.
Yeah.
And plus the only thing you've heard, Xander, is Vic trashing him.
Definitely concerning. You're right. The only news we've gotten out of Bryce Huff this entire camp has been that Vic Fangio said he's not a 3-down player. And we just gave the guy $51 million. John McMullen, who was probably the guy who was the most high on him as a beat reporter, from more of an objective point of view, has said, he's like, I'm not ready to sound the alarm yet, but I have seen basically nothing from Bryce Huff. Hasn't gotten around anybody, hasn't made a move on anybody, not getting around, not making plays. He hasn't been terrible, but you're paid to make plays, especially when you get that type of contract, and you're replacing a guy like Hassan Reddick. So if he doesn't produce, Hills, we got a problem, because that whole pass rush is in a way hinging on him. Now, I think his life's going to be easier in the games, because think about it. You want to stop Bryce Huff, that's fine. You're going to have to leave Jalen Carter one-on-one, who's tossing Mekhi Becton with one arm.
Who's an enormous human being.
You want to double Jalen Carter? All right, then Bryce Huff's going to have an easier lane off the edge. Remember, you also have Jordan Davis, who most likely will eat up 1.5, 2 blockers. So that defensive line is going to be a big unit, tough to handle, and I think that could make it a little easier for Bryce Huff, but we'll see how it goes.
You know what I'll say here? I think there's a lot of people that are down on this player, and I even think that maybe you are a tad bit, but, Clint loves Josh Sweat. He says he's maybe one of the best 3-down linemen they have. He asked me, and I said, well, he played almost 900 snaps last year. They had no help for the kid. He ran out of gas in the second half of the season, as everyone else did on that defense. And I don't know, Xander, I think you're going to see a bounce back year from him, because I think he is one of their better 3-down guys. Are you going to see 11, 12 sacks? That I don't think so, but I wouldn't be shocked if I saw 8 sacks,
Yeah.
The guy's productive. He's a good left end. He's a solid guy. He contributes to the defense and setting the edge. I think he's going to have a better season because Vic's going to put him in better positions, in my opinion, to be able to succeed.
He should. I mean, he was before last season when he got wildly inconsistent. He was kind of on an upward trajectory. He's also a prototypical edge rusher. He's got the proper build for it. He just played far too many snaps last year, but the inconsistency killed us. I mean, in one day you got a great defensive end. On the other day, he was non-existent. And like I said, the same point about Bryce Huff, you could say about Josh Sweat. I mean, in a way, defenses are going to have to take Jalen, Jordan, Bryce Huff, and maybe Milton before they even address, stopping Josh Sweat. So in a way, that it's kind of a mismatch heaven for him. He's going to have his opportunity to get after the quarterback. But you're right. What's the rotation look like? Is Nolan Smith going to be a viable option? Because that's going to play a big part as well. If you can keep Josh Sweat fresh because you're giving snaps to Nolan Smith, he's going to be a much more productive player like he was in years past. But if you get back into that 800, 900 snap range, I would forget about it. I don't think he's built for that. Remember, he had that catastrophic knee injury, Dan. He almost was done football. And I think that affects you when you're getting up to the.
Right, he's got dog years on him, Xander. Like
exactly.
If he's got 5 years in the NFL, he's probably got 9-year knees.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see. I think he's in good. I think he's going to have a chance to have a good year, but I want to see it. I want to see it. I'm not going to say he's going to be great until I see it from him.
Hey, Sean, that's really cool of you down there in Hotlanta. We really appreciate that, dog. Keep spreading the word. That's how you do this stuff here, is by word of mouth. And thank you so much for the super chat, man. I really appreciate that.
Appreciate you, Sean. Thank you, man.
Xander, you got time for a couple more here?
Yeah, a couple more minutes I can give you, Sills.
All right, man. Well, let me do this here then. I'm going to do 3 more. Let's go here. Man, this Quinyon Mitchell kid. Talent, work ethic, attitude. Every single thing that you want in a rookie. And then what I'm hearing is this, step-for-step stuff. Just needs technique work. And you got AJ, who's you know what I love about what AJ's doing here? AJ's allowing the personality to come out of the player. He's not shutting him down. And what I mean by that is, you know how important that is to build up ego for a corner? And you don't have a guy sitting there going, shut the hell up, shut your fucking mouth, rookie. Yeah. You don't have that out of AJ. AJ's kind of bringing him along, and I really love that. And you're seeing that. And I got to tell you, man, kudos to AJ Brown for allowing that kind of competition to go on in camp. And the kid wants to compete with him, and it's making him better and better each and every single day. I'm a Teron Arnold guy. However, so far, so good. Both guys may end up being one day the both starting corner all pros.
Yeah, I think that's what you're getting into here.
You may have that dynamic between these two guys.
That's where I think we're getting into. I think both are going to be great players. It's kind of a pick your poison. Quinyon does fit our scheme a little bit better than Teron Arnold does. So I think that's part of maybe that's part of it. So if they both pan out, we might end up with the guy that fits us a little bit better anyway. But boy, it's been great. I mean, again, we talked to BLJ this morning, who was down there at practice, not just John McMullen, but a second guy now. And he's like, it's been impressive. I mean, they're moving him all around. Now, I think maybe one thing you could be concerned about is he hasn't gotten any of those first team reps on the outside to start. He had a couple of them, but they weren't the real first team reps versus AJ and Devontae. He's been mostly lined up in the slot. Maybe that's because of Cooper DeJean being out. Maybe it's, maybe that's just how they want to work him into it. He has played outside, but, ideally, you want him to be the starting outside corner opposite Darius Slay. That's where when you draft a guy 22 overall, you need him at that money position on the outside. And I think he'll get there. But overall, very good signs coming out of camp on Quinyon Mitchell. I think he's going to be a great player. By the way, the Eagles put up a video of him versus AJ. It was really good.
One more thing on that. What do you make of the secondary not making any plays whatsoever? Very few bat downs. The Keely Ringo thing. Mm-hmm. You drop the bat. There's no plays in a week where you go, nice job. I mean, or picks or like deflections or any of that. I mean, it's camp, dude. I mean,
yeah.
Again, it's July. You're right. You're shaking your head. And then
no, you're right. I mean,
because it's July 31st. I'm not wigging out. I'm just saying, what do you make of that?
Yeah, I think it's definitely something to monitor. I mean, remember, coming into camp. coming into the season, there's questions about this defense. So I know we're excited about Quinion. We're all excited about the young guys and Keely Ringo, Isaiah Rodgers. Let's see. Even Darius Slay, he's what is he, 34 now? I mean, he's an old 33 or 34.
33.
Yeah. So, but I think he turns 34 in the year or whatever. But so, I think it's going to have to be a wait and see. The one thing I don't like about this defense is, and it's more the scheme, you're not going to change. And I think we have the best guy to run the scheme, but I just hate the style of defense we play in Philly. Let me
go to this now. Here, I got two more here. This one. Vic Fangio, and I heard you this morning. Huss, he's the Donald Trump of D coordinators, control and contain, and he's going to be the most conservative guy you've ever seen. He's not going to give a shit about 20 to 20. He's going to care about 20 to end zone. Yeah. That's all he cares about. Plus 25 plays. He doesn't think your quarterback can make in a 12-play drive. He does not think he's not going to not make a mistake. Okay? Hey, Sills, don't hold up. Wait a minute. No. Wait a minute. Listen, Xander, listen here. You got the show wrong up in focus. This is about dudes not agreeing or agreeing. I mean, this is
this motherfucker wouldn't say shit to me if he saw me on the street. I'll tell you where to meet me. You won't meet me for nothing. You'll cry behind your little computer screen like you are right now. Send me your $5, which I appreciate, and I'll take it and I'll use it. And you won't say nothing to me in person. That's the kind of guy you are. I can tell. You're calling me a pussy. Look at you, dude. You're sending $5 super chats to chirp me, sending me money so we give you some attention. Come on, man. What a clown.
This is too fucking good today.
The internet warriors are out.
Hey, this is too good today, man. Hold on. So here's
my channel, dork. Get the fuck out of here.
Multiple fronts, conservative. I mean, I think Vic has really done a nice job at putting a good scheme together for these young players. I got to tell you, man, between him and Kellen's going to try to evolve the offense. It's a total motion offense. There is no question that these two guys, and I said this about Kellen, Huss, they gave him a facelift. Kellen gave that offense a facelift. It's motions, guys meeting in the slot, all shit like that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I think both these coordinators are absolutely giving these both sides of the football. I think they're giving them facelifts, and I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that's what Kellen Moore brings. That's why they hired this guy. It's a different set of eyes. It's an experienced guy that, has put, and look, this is what we talked about a little bit with the difference between him and Shane Steichen. I think he's going to force Jalen to get better at the things he's not great at. Shane, in a way, kept him coddled, in what he was good at with using the legs. I think Kellen Moore is going to force him to get that ball around, force him to move the football. And you're right. It's a good word for it. It's a facelift on the offense with the motion and all those things. And I think it's a big thing. I think it can help a lot.
Well, I think we had ourselves a heck of a segment today. And listen, I know you love Jalen Kaepernick. I totally know you love him. He's going to win a lot of games for you. He's totally going to win a lot of games. He better win a lot of games. Dak Prescott.
I can't figure it out. Like, I understand your criticisms of Jalen Hurts, but I can't for the life of me figure out why you're so soft on Dak Prescott. 9 years
on him.
Oh my God, you're soft.
I just said he's a better passer. You're taking it into being that I think he's better than John Elway. I never said that.
My boy, you are soft as Charmin.
I never said that. I never said that
Dak
about
Prescott.
him. He's a better pocket passer. It's proven.
Okay,
year in and year out, it's proven.
Sam Bradford.
That's how you win.
Sam Prescott.
Oh, good. Hey. We'll agree to disagree.
Dak Bradford. What's better, Sam Prescott or Dak Bradford?
I'm pulling for Jalen Kaepernick. I totally am. I can't wait. Hey, by the way, this year is going to be one of the greatest years in Big Sil's life. Are you crazy? If you don't finish in the top 3 in offense and you don't win the NFC, it's a failure season. Remember that because of the money you're spending. And that season last year, you scored 26 points a game and had 8th in offense total. That's going to be quite a figure to beat.
Yeah, agreed.
And you won 11 games.
We'll see how it goes. I think it's going to be a good year for the Eagles this year. I think you're very soft on the Cowboys. It's interesting.
I said they're going to win 5 games.
Yeah, and you think Dak Prescott's like the greatest quarterback to ever grace the league. It's like insane.
He's making that up. I never said that. I said he's better than your guy.
He's a great
That's what I said.
That's
what I said. I mean, yeah. I never said he was the greatest quarterback of all time. I never said that. All right.
Okay. He hasn't won anything, so I don't care that he's a good passer. I don't care. I really don't.
I know. He won the NFC champion. He won the NFC championship, Jalen. He's 2-3 in the postseason.
I'll take the winner.
I know. I got you, man.
You take the passer. I'll take the winner.
Okay, that's right. Well, he ain't a winner in the postseason. He's 2-3.
Well, he went to the Super Bowl. He's
done more. I got it. But let's be fair here. His record's 2-3.
Yeah, well, so is every quarterback that's ever been worth anything.
Hey, folks, you don't know.
Outside of Brady and Mahomes, I mean.
Hey, you really don't know how true that is until you look the numbers up and you go, Mahomes is 15-3.
Let me answer Elizabeth here. She says, where does Xander learn those words? I learned them from Big Cells. That's where I learned. I learned them from Big Cells. That's who taught me those words.
Elizabeth, you better go away, man. Hey, Prince, thank you guys so much. Xander, where are we?
Let me check it out. I think Prince is keeping us track. He says
he is, man. He's been awesome today.
Yeah, 253 from Prince. Prince is spot on. Appreciate you, Prince. Love you, brother. One of our best viewers.
Elizabeth, you better go away here, man, before Xander doesn't give you a wrench and he hits me in the head with it. Xander, great stuff tomorrow. Normal show tomorrow?
Yeah. Yep. All week. And then next week, we're going to be we're going to be late for the first 3 days because they got Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. They're at camp. So they got their 4 straight days. I guess you could call it their dog days of summer for the modern NFL, 4 straight days. But that's what's going to be the schedule. Regular times for the rest of the week. Remember, they got the open practice tomorrow, Sills.
Yep. They had a walkthrough today, right?
Yeah, they had a walkthrough today. Now, I think their practice might start tomorrow night. Right around.
Oh, is that for the fans to go to Lincoln Financial?
Yeah. So wait, real quick before I get out of here, let me just say when it is. It's tomorrow is what? August 1st?
Yes.
Yeah. So 2:20 video conference, 6:10 p.m. Nick Sirianni presser, and then 6:30 practice. So they're starting right as your show ends. So stay tuned, everybody, tomorrow for the National Football Show, and then coming right out of it, they'll go right into the
pregame show.
Yeah, we're like the pregame show to the practice tomorrow. So good stuff. I'd love to hear if anybody in the chat is going down there for the practice. A lot of times people do go down. It's a pretty fun event. I won't be down there. I got a lot of work to do, but I'd be interested to see if anybody's going.
How about this, dude, before I get you out of here? So it's Bears and Texans tomorrow?
Yeah,
the first Hall of Fame game? The first exhibition game's tomorrow? I thought it was next. We're right here already?
It's unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
Wait,
don't forget to check.
Real quick. This is what I hate about the modern NFL. You draft a guy, Caleb Williams, and I get it. You got to protect him. I get it. You don't have to sell. I understand. But they're not even going to put him out there for a play. He's never played a down in the NFL. The modern NFL is weird with things, man. I would love to see these guys get out there. It's football. You can't legislate injuries. It happens.
I bet
get him out there.
Plays a little.
What's that?
I bet you Stroud plays a little.
He would be one I'd be all right with because I know what I
heard D'Amico Ryan say first team's going to get at least.
Oh yeah, so maybe that's more D'Amico probably than anything. Yeah, D'Amico's a hard-nosed dude. Roll Tide, D'Amico, Alabama guy through and through. So good stuff. I love D'Amico Ryans. I would have loved him in Philly. Boy, what a difference that would have been.
What a great coach.
I digress. Let's not get into that right now.
Absolutely, man. All right. So tomorrow, don't forget Birds 365. Outstanding today, Xander. Way to stick up for your guys. Love it. Always battling with Big Sills. He was punching behind the scenes before he even came out of here. So he's here to defend the Philly faithful, as always. But he's critical, too, when he needs to be. So don't forget to catch him tomorrow, Birds 365. Hit the like button. Xander, thanks a lot, brother.
Appreciate you, Sil.
You got it, man. Hit that like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood days.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
They're carving them up and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Win and save this baseball season from Colony Pools and Power Washing, a local company serving Delaware, Delco, and Chester County since 1970. Are you tired of looking at your green house? Is your roof, siding, deck stained green from algae and mold? Let the experts pressure wash your home and take the pressure off of you. Win with Colony Pools and Power Washing. Call them now at 302-762-2250. That's 302-762-2250.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Big Sales, appreciate you guys coming aboard. Please do me a favor and hit the like button. Trying to get to 300 likes. Trying to get to 300 likes. And Spike always with a low-hanging, low-brow comment. Sills hates black quarterbacks. Give a fuck what color you are. If you're a Jew, Catholic, Islamic, are you going to help me get to a Super Bowl? Gives a shit what that looks like. Oh, so wait a minute. I would hate Mahomes on my team because he's black, right? Is that what you're saying? Hey, Sills doesn't want Mahomes on his team because he's black. Well, then I'm not winning. That doesn't work any longer in today's NFL. The highest paid players in the league are black. It doesn't work any longer. That doesn't fly anymore. You're looking for the best available guy to get you to a Super Bowl. The Eagles didn't give Jalen Hurts $50 million because he's black. They gave it to him because they think he can win a Super Bowl for him. Plain and simple. No other way around it. Like Xander said, it's a different NFL today. You don't legislate your roster that way any longer. It's a dumb comment. It's actually a comment that you hear on the news media side. When people always don't get their way, they go to race because they think people will hide under their desk. I'll confront it every day, dude. I think it shows your ignorance. Feels how big was the gap between Jerome Brown and Joe Green? Significant. Joe's the greatest defensive tackle, interior tackle that's ever played. Just significant. He's the greatest tackle ever. I mean, if you're going to put a prototype defensive tackle and what a defensive tackle looks like, it's Mean Joe Green. Speed, hands, strength, dominance, fear. The Steeler defense was, and he's the greatest Steeler of all time. Think about that for a second. He is the greatest Steeler ever that's ever lived, Joe Green. Nobody better. Seals, do you see Jalen becoming a better Dak under Moore's tutelage? Great question. 85, think about something. Let's just go back a little bit on our conversation that we had with Xander. Isn't it? Do you find it not weird that they hired Dak's coordinator? Do you find that weird that they hired Dak's coordinator? You could have hired anybody on the planet. Why Dak's coordinator? Anybody you could have had. Could have had a pick of the litter. Why did they go and get Dak Prescott's coordinator? I mean, do they want him to look like Dak? According to people, that's where he had his most success with Dak. Number one in offense twice. So you want Jalen to look like Dak? You interviewed about 4 coordinators. Why'd you land on him? That's Dak Prescott. He didn't have a lot of success in Los Angeles. So he's based on what he did in LA or Dallas with Dak. The only quarterback he's ever worked with is Dak. Cooper Rush a little. Master Chief, they want Dak's numbers. It's kind of my point. I think so too. See, what they want is the best of both worlds. Like Xander said, Jalen's winning. Dak's numbers. That's what they want. They want Dak's numbers, and Jalen's winning. That's what they're hoping for. You see that, right? There's no way around it. He's had no success with any other quarterback but Dak Prescott. Yet, people forget Kellen Moore was a quarterback in the league before, so he could teach Hurts definitely others than others. Yeah, they're kind of like the same way Frank Reich. Right? I'm sure you know Moore wasn't on the Cowboys last year. I do. And last year, Dak did some shit without him. He led the NFL in passing touchdowns. He did. And won the division. Yeah, I know. They didn't go far in the playoffs, but they did win the division. And he had a better year. Across the board, winning and the division. Kellen bringing the West Coast RPO. No, he's not. There's no RPO. I think there's going to be more read option. No, Angelo, it's all good. It's all good. Jalen had 38 touchdowns. If he doesn't run them in and throws quick plants to AJ or easy balls in the flat, you think you would make him better. Hey, Tyler, what you tell me when he tell me about the 38 total touchdowns, he needs his legs to win. A lot of quarterbacks in the league don't need their legs to win. He needs the dual package to win. Nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that mentality. I just don't think that Lamar does more with less. Lamar didn't have a 1,000-yard rusher or a 900-yard receiver in both. Won 14 ball games and won the MVP award for the second time. It's pretty crazy when you think about what kind of season he had. And I don't think he threw for over 3,600 yards. It's crazy. I think he had a 100 quarterback rating. Okay? I do. I mean, I'm awake or you. what do you have a problem with what I just said? Again, I don't get it. Jalen gets his numbers in different ways. Correct. And it hurts him in the MVP voting. It surely does. Moore has the potential to make him stand out more in the passing department, make him easier to vote for. 85, that's a great take. That is an absolutely fabulous take. That's right. Let me just tell you something here. Hey, 85, Jalen Hurts throws for 4,100 yards, 4,000 yards, and he has 15 touchdowns. He'll win the most valuable player easily, just on the optics alone. Okay? I think Xander was right about Jalen. He needs to take the check down and spread the ball. Here's something too, Prince. If he throws the check down this year, he'll throw for 4,200 yards. Can you imagine the last 2 years with no intermediate passing game and no screen game whatsoever on the Eagles? That guy still threw for 3,800 yards. What quarterback in his right mind doesn't throw underneath or have a check down offense? That's how you throw for a ton of yards. I've said this before. Tom Brady didn't win Super Bowls throwing touchdown passes. He won Super Bowls throwing checkdowns. That's how he won. It's how he won the Super Bowl in Tampa. Everyone knows that. I mean, this is not hard to figure out. I like that, 85, what you said. The optics about Hurts. You know what's funny? Is that they look at Lamar in a different light than they do Jalen. I wonder if that's got a lot to do with being a first and second rounder. I mean, and also, too, Lamar is just so electric. And Hurts is steady. He's not electric. Now, again, the Buffalo overtime was electric. His Super Bowl game was excellent. Okay? Twiz goes, that's your optics? That's the voters' optics. That's the voters. Hey, let me just put it to you this way, Twiz. Him missing those 2 games at the end of the year in 2022, he still should have won the MVP. I guarantee you if Mahomes had missed the final 2 games, Mahomes would have still won an MVP award that year. I'm awake, or you? No, I don't believe he is electric. I think he's steady. I think he'll go out there and he'll put you up some really great numbers. I don't think – hey, wait a minute. That's a great topic. How many people think Tom Brady was electric? You really think Tom Brady was? You think Tom Brady, when you watch passing, who was more electric, Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady? I mean, Tom Brady wasn't electric. You really think Tom Brady was like wowing you in games? I didn't see that. Sills, I know you don't pay attention to what players say in the top 100, but they have a ton of respect for him. I agree. Just by the things they were saying about him on that list, it's clear he's ranked 15th. That's a great thing. That's a player list. That does matter to me. What was Dak on that list too, Prince? Because a lot of people really have great opinions about Dak too. Tom was boring. Andrew, right. Winning is boring sometimes. What Mahomes does is electric. You're like, shit. Ambidextrous throws, all these crazy angles. He's 10 times more electric than Brady. Brady was boring. At times, like I tell Xander, Jalen's boring. Winning is sometimes boring. Damn. Look at Alabama. Alabama at times just rolled people. It wasn't an electric offense like you had with them Canes teams back in the day with Andre Johnson and Reggie Wayne catching the football with Michael Irvin on the team. Those were electric. Long, painful drives. Right, Andrew. That's what Brady and the Patriots went on. They were long, painful drives. Sills, if you had to go to war with one quarterback, Brady or Mahomes? Hit the like button, guys, please. If you had to go to battle with one quarterback to win one game. Thanks, Prince. He was 16th. Okay. Brady or Mahomes? Probably going to take Mahomes because he can do more. God, going against Brady in a Super Bowl? He beat him in a Super Bowl. I forgot that. Brady beat Mahomes. Shit. That's a really great question. Stills, if more can help Hurts improve his completion percentage and third down percentage, it would move the chains and bring out the best version of Hurts. You know what, too, Bob? You know how they do that? You don't have to go explosion plays. Dude, I don't like that offense explosion. No risk it, no biscuit. I don't believe in that. I believe in how Brady won Super Bowls or how Mahomes is winning them. Okay? Brady's best attribute was his ability to minimize penalties and inspire discipline. Dart, I also happen to think that he, in his knowledge of the offense and his knowledge of what the defense was, what made him great. In my opinion, Tom Brady knew every single position, technique, and responsibilities on defense, and every single responsibility and technique of every player on his offense. There wasn't a position out there on the field he didn't know what their technique was. So he knew exactly what you were trying to do at all times, whether you were a linebacker, defensive end, whether you were an offensive guard, whether you were a center. The guy's smarts and being able to absorb all of that and be able to take all that information, apply it, and just process it is what made him sensational. Hey, we're 26 away from 300, guys. It'd be our second day in a row at 300. We so appreciate you guys, man. Please, we're trying to get to 300. We got 30 minutes left for 26. Well, at least Hills didn't say Jamarcus Russell. That's okay if we're talking about that drink. Hollywood, if we're talking about that drink, Russell's your man. I'll take the drink. Did you see that video of Mahomes showing up out of shape to camp? Patrick Mahomes. I think he's got a dad's body anyway, brother. I do. I think he's got a... Hey, by the way, am I right, Prince? I ended up being right about Bijan Robinson. Remember I told you I wanted you guys to draft him in the top 10? Bijan Robinson's going to be a 2,000 yard from scrimmage back this year. I think he was 1,500 last year. That was in his rookie year in Atlanta. In Atlanta. Now, would you still rather have Jalen Carter? Probably. Let's say Jalen Hurts throws for 45, 36, and 6, and the Eagles go back to the Super Bowl. What do the Eagles do at the OC position? Look for a new coordinator. Moore's gone. Nick will get a contract extension. You'll be in the market for a new coordinator. That is going to be a revolving door, whether it's 1 or 2 years. You're never going to have, unless you get a head coach that's a play caller. You hire a Matt LaFleur or you hire somebody like that. You're never going to be in a position, and Jalen Hurts is always going to have a revolving door when it comes to a coordinator. Every year it's going to be it is going to be a new guy, or every other year. No, Prince, what it does, it slows his progress down. Like I said, look at Mahomes. Mahomes is 9 years in the league. He's got one guy in his ear. Okay, he's got one guy in his ear. Brady had Josh McDaniels all them years up there in his ear. Isn't it funny? Josh McDaniels was the offensive coordinator for 17 of Brady's 22 years, or 20 years, I think it was, in New England. And now Mahomes has got him for 9 years, Andy Reid. You think there's any coincidence to that? Those guys are the winningest guys in the last 25 years in Super Bowls. Taylor says, who cares? Well, the guys who've won the most Super Bowls have had the most consistency at coordinator. That's who cares, Tyler. I guarantee you Mahomes and Brady cared. And between them, they've got 10 Super Bowls and 14 appearances. Do you think it matters now? Then Nick is the issue. Actually, I think it's his job description is the issue. That's two situations where a good OC brought the team to the Super Bowl. Right. That's right. Think about it, Prince. Okay? I mean, you lost a coordinator in Steichen. He puts those numbers up this year. You're going to look for a new coordinator. 15 more likes to 300. You guys are killing it. Stills, do you think they would pay more, an insane amount, to get him to stay and not take the head coaching job if he turns Hurts around? You mean like they did in Detroit with the guy Johnson and Slokey down in Houston, and make him the heir apparent in a couple of years? Nick's got to get – if Nick gets a team back to the Super Bowl, you're not going to do this. And Xander is right here. You're not going to do this. So wait a minute. Nick Sirianni gets a team to the Super Bowl for a second time. They went to the playoffs every year. He's over 500 because it would be over 500 that your record would be in the postseason. You developed Hurts into being a quarterback. You went through a really bad year. You've had 2 sensational years. They're not firing Nick Sirianni. Not a chance in hell. Nobody on the planet would fire that. He'd have a job in 5 seconds. He'd have a job in 5 seconds. And by the way, if he does get a team to the Super Bowl, he must have grown during this last year into the role he has. And you know what? Nick Sirianni, I'll say this to you. How Nick Sirianni, did John McMullen, Xander, do an article like this about the political side of Nick? If Nick Sirianni gets the Eagles to a Super Bowl, he'll be one of the hottest candidates out there. Because you know why? He is exactly what organizations are looking for. Work with the analytics guys. You may have some ups and downs. You're not going to panic. He's going to relent in some areas on personnel and coaching hires. And he's going to work like you're in a CEO position as a coach. That's a quintessential guy. When you find guys like Sean McVay or Kyle Shanahan, those are novelties. Okay? Those are novelties. And I would say this, that Nick would probably get a little bit more autonomy. You can't fire a guy going to 2 Super Bowls. You just can't. I mean, you would look dumb. And by the way, Jeffrey Lurie, the owner, would look right in firing Doug Peterson, especially if the guy wins it. They'll let more go. They may offer him more money. Okay? But they're not going to let him go if they get back to a Super Bowl. Not a chance. It's too much success. 14 more. Thank you, Prince. Sills, if Joey Bosa is cut, how would you pay him with his injury history? I'd put him on a 2-year with a team option friendly deal in the 3rd. And what I would do is I would give him a bag of money on a signing bonus, and I would make sure that salary was low, that I could move off him. I think the one thing that the Eagles do that is really great, they'll compromise themselves by giving a guy money But as long as it doesn't affect the roster when it comes to the cap, they'll give, like, here's what I'm saying. You sign a guy for $10 million for 2 years. They may do this. Well, here's 6 of it. And, it'll come out to, we'll split up the $4 million, $2 million a year over the next 2 years. You get 2 years, 2 million this year, 2 million that year, but you get the 6 up front. Okay. That's how you get players on cheaper deals. Players want the sure money in the bank. Here, you know how you get Justin Simmons? If you ever wanted to go down that route, say 2 years, 10 million. I'm just using that number. It's not that number at all. Hey, Justin, here's what we'll do. Here is $6 million, $7 million. Want to pay you $1.5 million salary next 2 years. You be open for that? Yeah. He's taking a pay cut because he can get more in the open market, and your cap doesn't kill you. But the player has $6 million in the bank, and he's 31. What would you do? Would you really wait for a 3-year deal with phony money at the back end of a contract for the Cowboys or some other team that could cut you and not pay you that money? No way. Give me the money in the bank. You took a $4 million pay cut. I got it, but I still got $6 million in the bank, especially at 31. Judon would be harder because Judon's younger, and Judon's going to command pretty good money. He's going to command $20 million. That's not going to be, and plus you're going to have to give up a draft pick to the Patriots for that guy because he's on the roster up there. You would have to give up a 2 and a 5 for him, and you'd have to pay him 20. If you're willing to do that, that's probably somewhere in the room. Okay? But I'm awake or you. That's how you get guys on cheaper numbers. You get them on cheaper numbers by giving them money up front and lowering their base. That's how you make it happen. I can imagine how much money Simmons has made over the years. Yeah. Mr. International. That's why I say give him the money up front. And hey, could he get 13, 14 million? Sure. But you only give him 10 and 6 of it up front. You get away with things. Players at that age want money in the bank. When you sign a player like Justin Simmons to a $15 million deal at 31 over 3 years, the only thing is for sure is a signing bonus. Especially if they structured a deal where they can move off you and there's a cap hit of only $7 million, team would take the $7 million cap hit. 7 million versus the 40. What do you think they do? It's phony money. I think they're holding out for Simmons so that his contract is not guaranteed for the season. I think that's why Simmons is not in camp too. Xander asked the question, why is he not in camp? Well, your contract automatically goes for the year once you're on the active roster week 1 when you're a 10-plus veteran guy. Why would he go to training camp? His contract wouldn't be guaranteed. What if he got hurt? His contract would not be guaranteed if he got hurt in training camp. But if he's on the opening day roster, your contract is guaranteed because you're a 10-plus year veteran guy, automatically, according to the NFL collective bargaining agreement. So when you hear these guys that are not, and when you got 10-year veteran guys, they're not showing up to camp. You think Dominic Sue's going to camp? He wants a guaranteed contract. Sean Jackson did that last year. He didn't go to camp, sign a contract. His contract was guaranteed the entire season. It was prorated because he signed, I think, with the Raiders a year ago. Judon's 31. I thought he was younger. He might take that type of deal too then. Oh, it's 7 years? Okay. 7, 9, excuse me. Why do doctors charge? Yeah, so I mean, you've got an opportunity here to sit back and wait and see what you got. Like I said, I think their first week has been great. It has. By the way, little bit of news on the Jets and Reddick. Jets and Reddick are moving to try to get to yes. And they're trying to work a contract where they're going to give him some money. And if he shows up and he shows out by the middle of the season, they'll give him a 3-year contract extension. Now, I don't know what that number is, but Joe Douglas's people are saying, look, show up. Here's an additional $5 million. I think Reddick's people want an additional 8. They're talking 5. That would put him at around 19.4. But he wants to be over 20. He actually wants to be around 22. So the money's still an issue, but they're getting there and they're working on it. So they want to give him a little bit of money that he has left on his contract. And if you put him on that football team and with the talent that they have on defense, Reddick get you 14 sacks. Reddick could make himself for the next 2 years, 3 years, probably a 2-year contract with New York. He could probably make $25 million a year. The problem that I have with this deal now is this. We talked about it a little bit today with Xander. Bryce Huff, it's July 31st, and I'm not going to go nuts on anything here. I told you my feelings on him as well. I don't think he's the player you think he is. I think he's a situational specialist. And he is not, according to even to your coordinator, he's not a 3-down guy. And you paid $17 million for a guy who's not a 3-down guy. That's not promising when you haven't heard his name and you haven't heard anything but negativity out of Vic Fangio's face. Mike says, Sills, do you have access to agents? I have access to all the agents and their cell phones. Yes. The NFL Players Association has access to all their cell phone numbers and also to their email numbers. And I pretty much know, like, people at CAA, and I know a bunch of the people. I don't really know Nicole Lynn very well in that group, but I know a bunch of people like Peyton Manning's agent. I knew a bunch of people and their agents. I know Drew Rosenhaus. He and I have a pretty funny relationship. It's on and off. Hey, man, absolutely. Look at. Hey, we're 4 away. We're 3 away from having another 300 day. You guys are killing it, man. Thank you guys so much, man. Hey, by the way, that's a beautiful thing about the show today. Always remember this. Big Sills doesn't take anything personal. Nothing. I take shit personal when you're talking about my kid. Other than that, this is show business. We're all good and hey, you guys are growing the show like a crazy person. Hey, by the way, Prince, I owe you something, bro. Prince, where are you located in the world? I may actually have to meet this guy. Look at Master Chef. Great show, Sills. I watch it every day. That's so cool of you, man. Thank you very much. That's so cool of you, man. Like and subscribe. I'm awake, are you? You know the cool thing about this is? But you too, James Jones. Prince is in Miami. You liar. You liar. You're not in Miami, because if you were, I'd hook you up. Dan, the Eagles were a wild card team in 2008 and lost to the Bucs in the NFC title. Oh, there were they? Okay. Was that the last game of the – hey, David, was that the last game at the Link? Or no, excuse me, I mean at the Vet? Was that the last game at the Vet in 08? James Jones gets a Jalen Daniels jersey on JAKIB if the Commies win 10 games. Woo! Woo! Whoa! James, you hear that? James, you get a Jaden Daniels jersey if the Commies win 10 ball games. been telling my friends, man, good to hear people thinking critical about our squad. Jack, you do so many great things right, though. You know, to be candid, 300, baby. Thank you. Wow. It's fabulous. You guys are great. Yes, sir. Hey, that's freaking awesome. 302. It's the second day in a row. 10 games. I'm awake, or you? Oh, ye of little fate. Prince did it, man. He did a lot of work today. Prince, I bow to you. Hey, by the way, so, hey, I actually thought Mark Holmes was a little bit, I don't know. It wasn't, Xander came in, now kind of throwing haymakers, right? Had to shake the room up. Hey, Betty Ann, relax. I don't want to hear it after my show either. Okay? I don't want to hear it. Fish on Sills. Maniac. You're going to have to take me on that boat of yours, bro. James got to rock a Hurts jersey if they don't win 10 games. Michael's 14-3. That's what Xander's got. Xander thinks the Eagles are going to win 14 ball games. Angelo says 7. No, Angelo says 5. I say 7. Angelo's got you winning 5. Stills won't leave his man cave. Hold on, I got to put that up. Surprised Xander didn't. Xander came in like Doc Holliday. Hold on for a second. Doc Holliday? Didn't he have emphysema? Angelo's mad at the Eagles. James Jones has to make an Eagle logo for the entire season if they don't win 10 games. Look at Prince, 306. Good. Look, hey, look, you guys notice something here? Here, watch this. I'll show you how I handle people. So headed back to Philly next week. Good for you, Kyle. 7 means Angelo's moving up. No, 5. He said 5 wins. 5. Okay, do me a favor. Guys, hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood days.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
They're carving them up and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Win and save this baseball season from Colony Pools and Power Washing, a local company serving Delaware, Delco, and Chester County since 1970. Are you tired of looking at your green house? Is your roof, siding, deck stained green from algae and mold? Let the experts pressure wash your home and take the pressure off of you. Win with Colony Pools and Power Washing. Call them now at 302-762-2250. That's 302-762-2250.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
EAGLES, Eagles.
That's the story of my show. I should have that on a t-shirt, actually. Sills, your show sucks, but I'll see you tomorrow. Oh, man, that's so good. Oh, man. Thank you very much, Michael. That's good, man. Oh, hey, real quick. I was really glad to hear that John Elway said one of the biggest mistakes I've ever made in my entire life was drafting Bradley Chubb over Josh Allen. Biggest mistake I ever made. One of the most electric players I've ever seen. And Josh Allen. Yeah, big mistake. Here's another one for you. You think that the Pittsburgh Steelers regret not drafting Dan Marino and Jalen Hurts? Two guys they passed on? Still, did you ever meet Randall Cunningham? Absolutely. UNLV kid, too. Actually, dude, you ready for this? Randall Cunningham played with Suge Knight at UNLV. How's that for you? If the Eagles win a Super Bowl, give me a free sub. Hoagie? Philly cheesesteak? Geno's? What? Okay. What are we talking about here? So I used to get into a conversation all the time with Dan Lebitard. I don't know if you guys know who he is. He's a talk show host down in Miami. Came up with the most absurd thing on the planet, compared LeBron James to Ali. I heard this shit yesterday, and I'm like, hang on. The guy had to go to Supreme Court. They took his job away and his livelihood. And LeBron James had nothing taken from him. And because he carried the flag on a boat in Paris, you compared him to Ali? I miss this. He was the most reviled man on the planet. But then at the 96 Olympics, when he lit the torch, the entire nation was like in tears. Because Ali was there lighting the torch in Atlanta. And you're like, that was a moment you'll never forget. LeBron James is forgettable when it comes to social justice. You know the coolest thing about Ali was, as the Olympics are going on, he never protested in the ring. Always out of the ring because he didn't want to disrespect his sport. He didn't tell you who to vote for in the ring, and he never disrespected his opponent with his political and religious beliefs. That's what made him great. And he didn't have social media. Ali was underrated. He's my favorite athlete of all time in American history. So when you compare that guy, there is no comparable to Ali and everyone. Spectacular today. Xander was great. Mark was, we love Mark. Got to beat the Cowboys. But according to some, you don't. But you have to, in my opinion, you got to beat them. Great stuff. Xander, Big Joe, thank you. 2 to 6 tomorrow. Guys, please hit the like button. We will see you tomorrow going 2 to 6. We'll see you on the flip side.